Chapter 760. Li Fan seemed to hear someone talking to him. Kill everything. No one can stop you. Li Fan raised his head and looked at the light in the distance. The light formed a figure, which seemed to be Li Fan himself. Mr. Yang. He stood beside Murong Ying with one arm on Murong Ying's shoulder. This woman didn't love you for a long time. Why do you still keep her? Li Fan wanted to speak, but he found that he didn't even have the strength to speak. Kill her and become the new leader of the Wulin. Mr. Yang continued to speak to Li Fan. Use your Star Luo power to absorb all of her true qi. This way, you will be the strongest in the world. Murong Bo will be far inferior to you. As Mr. Yang spoke, his body appeared beside Murong Bo again. Then, he grabbed Murong Bo's head with both hands and made a neck-pulling action. You can kill everyone here. Mr. Yang continued. Don't let any of them go. At that moment, everyone's appearance seemed to have become bloody as they looked at Li Fan ferociously. Not good. Night Rain Tower seemed to have noticed something. He pulled Luo Shuwu. Leader. Quickly retreat. What's wrong? Luo Shuwu didn't understand. There's something wrong with Li Fan. Night Rain Tower pulled Luo Shuwu and took a few steps back. Li Fan. Murong Ying also felt that something was wrong. She took a few steps forward and wanted to reach out to touch Li Fan. Don't touch him. Kill him immediately. Murong Bo roared. He stretched out his hand, and Murong's sword flew over and fell into his hand. Wang Zheng took a glance and didn't chase after him. Instead, he chose to turn around and leave. If a Grandmaster wanted to leave this place, no one could stop him. Murong Bo carried his sword and descended from the sky, slashing down towards Li Fan. At this moment, Li Fan raised his head and let out a roar. A black light quickly spread out. His skin became somewhat dark, and a black Great War God also stood up behind him. The Great War God sent Murong Bo's sword flying with a palm strike. Then he turned into a black coat and covered Li Fan's body. 7 Demon Kings. Li Fan's eyes reddened as he stared at Murong's blog above his head. Murong held her sword with both hands, not panicking at all. She somersaulted in the air and slashed down again. Li Fan stretched out his palm and used his true qi to lock Murong Bo's long sword. Although Murong Bo had the power of a generation's grandmaster, he felt that his own true qi was rapidly flowing away from his sword and converging into Li Fan's body. Not just him, Murong Bo could feel that the true qi in the area was being sucked out and injected into Li Fan's body. Many martial artist bodies were extremely empty. It was obvious that their true qi had been sucked dry. Li Fan's eyes were extremely red. He looked at himself with a smile on his face. He casually swung his hand and used his true qi to hold Murong Bo's long sword and threw him out. Although Li Fan could not use all the true qi of the people around him, he could use it as a bomb and throw it out. Li Fan leaped up, and in the blink of an eye, he jumped into the sky and floated 100 meters in the air. He looked down, and his body was surrounded by the true qi that he had plundered. Then, he aimed one of his palms at the ground. This time, it was not the Dragon King's seal, but the 7 Demon Kings' killing blow. When everyone's true qi gathered together, it was not a small force. If this move was blasted here, the entire Murong Villa would suffer heavy casualties. Murong Bo did not dare to delay. He jumped up high and chased after Li Fan in the air. Li Fan's right hand was facing the ground. The true qi on his palm had gathered to a certain extent and formed a black light wave. At that moment, horror descended on the ground, and everyone felt the huge pressure. Cold sweat appeared on Luo Shuwu's forehead. If this continued, all of them would die here. However, Murong Bo had already appeared in front of Li Fan, and Murong Ying Bo threw out a large number of cherry blossoms, which rolled toward Murong Bo in the air. Murong Bo frowned and subconsciously avoided his daughter's cherry blossom sword qi. His sword attack was also deviated, and he only cut off Li Fan's right arm. Li Fan was in pain, and a large amount of devil qi came out of his body. The true qi that he had absorbed was also uncontrollable and directly exploded. When Li Fan fell down, Murong Bo was also hastily dealing with the true qi that exploded in the vacuum. Ordinary people would be afraid of this kind of terrifying true chi. Fortunately, Murongbo was skilled in martial arts. Although he was a little overwhelmed, he could barely deal with it. Luo Shuwu turned over in the air and caught Li Fan, who had fainted because of his broken arm. She gave Knight Rain Tower a look, and the latter nodded. He asked Jin Jiuma and Zhang Xiaodian to escort them and ran out with Li Fan. Chen Junhua got rid of the entangled Wei Jun and followed them on his big sword, as if he was on a skateboard. While Murongbo could not be distracted, the group escaped from Murong Villa in a sorry state. In the distance, a man in luxurious clothes had already come out with a large group of sword reliants. He waved at Luo Shuwu, and his voice was like a bell. Alliance leader Luo, this way. When Knight Rain Tower saw Sword Reliance's group, he felt a little more at ease. Archer team, cover us. Knight Rain Tower ordered. Over 10 archers walked out from behind the luxurious man and pulled their bows. Each of them knocked 3 arrows at the same time and shot them in their direction. The rain of swords fell from above, blocking the pursuers from behind. Knight Rain Tower asked Guo Mingming to carry Li Fan and escape from here. The group fled along the road to the boat by the river and finally got rid of the pursuers from Murong Villa. Wei Jun stood by the river and cursed at Luo Shuwu and the others. Luo Shuwu, you people from Sword Reliance are too cowardly. If you have the guts, come and fight me for 300 rounds. Reward him with a dragon head cannon. Luo Shuwu waved her hand, and the luxurious man beside her personally lit up a dragon head cannon. Bang! The shore was set ablaze. Wei Jun waved his long spear. He was in a sorry state, and there were burn marks all over his body. If not for his powerful martial arts, this cannon would have blown him into pieces. Luo Shuwu, I'm going to kill your whole family. Wei Jun roared continuously, but Luo Shu stood on the boat and smiled sweetly. Okay, Murongbo is my uncle. You can kill him first. Wei Jun was rendered speechless by his words. Their boat left safely. Luo Shu walked into the cabin and saw Knight Rain Tower sitting there, checking Li Fan's injuries. How is it? Li Fan was still unconscious, so Luo Shu asked Knight Rain Tower, who was proficient in medicine. The bleeding has stopped, but his right arm is disabled. Knight Rain Tower sighed. What a pity. God is jealous of such a talent. Luo Shuwu frowned deeply, while Knight Rain Tower asked. Losing an arm, his martial arts is almost disabled by half. Do you need such a man? Sword Reliance, protect him for life. Chapter 761. Li Fan felt that his head was hurting. It was as if there was an electric drill drilling into his head. It was really a splitting headache. He screamed and woke up. In front of him stood a man. It was none other than Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang looked at Li Fan with a smile on his mouth. You lost an arm. From today onwards, you are a useless person. Li Fan glanced at his empty right hand. When he was unconscious, it seemed that someone had changed a new set of clothes for him. It was plain white. His right sleeve was empty. There was nothing there. However, Li Fan seemed to be able to vaguely feel the existence of his right hand. This seemed to be the so-called phantom limb feeling in medicine. Being reduced to this point, Li Fan was lying on the bed. His head was a bit empty. He didn't know what to think. Mr. Yang, who was wearing a clean suit, was sitting on a chair next to him. He held a gentleman's cane in his hand and said slowly to himself, You see, you're already a useless person. There is no one around you. But it doesn't matter. You still have me. I am your best friend. Shut up. Li Fan was very impatient. It is easy to lose your last friend by talking like this, Mr. Yang said. In fact, even if you only have one arm, you can still be the strongest as long as you want. Get lost. I don't need you to talk nonsense. Li Fan had a terrible headache. Not only did he lose his right arm, but his brain also had a problem. This Mr. Yang began to appear in front of him all the time as if he really existed. However, Li Fan knew that it was just an illusion. It should be the influence of his inner demon. This feeling was really not good. Li Fan began to feel sad. This was the first time he had such a feeling. His mind was still recalling everything that happened before. Murong Ying's fire cloud palm, and Murong's sword that cut off his arm. Although the inner demon entered his body at that time, the moment his arm was cut off, Li Fan woke up from the pain and fainted because of the loss of strength. Hey, Mr. Yang tapped his cane lightly. Those people are your enemies. You can kill them at will. Why should you pity them? As he said this, Mr. Yang suddenly picked up something. Li Fan took a closer look and was horrified. It was Murong Ying's bloody head. He screamed, and the door was pushed open. Night Rain Tower rushed in. Brother Li, you're awake? Mr. Yang sat next to him, leaning on his cane, smiling as he looked at the Night Rain building. Yeah, I woke up a long time ago, but it's not your turn to pretend to care. Night Rain Tower couldn't see Mr. Yang in Li Fan's eyes. He sat on the chair next to Li Fan and pushed Mr. Yang down. People nowadays really don't know how to be polite. Mr. Yang shrugged his shoulders and stood aside, watching coldly. Sorry, I can only heal your internal injuries, but I can't reattach your right hand. Night Rain Tower lowered his head and apologized to Li Fan. If you need anything, just let me know. Alliance leader Luo said that you, Li Fan, will always be my Yijian Xiaofeng's man. As long as his sword exists, I won't let anyone touch a single hair on your body. Help me thank Alliance leader Luo. Li Fan sat up slowly. But I have phenomenal escort agency. That's my base. Yijian is good, but it's not my Li Fan's home. Brother Li, you're treating me like an outsider. Night Rain Tower advised. Now you can rest here. This is the 1,000-mile whistle. We're already on the sea, and we'll be returning to Yijian headquarters in a few days. See that? To them, you're just a piece of trash. Other than recovering, you can't do anything else. Cut the crap. Li Fan roared, scaring Night Rain Tower. Sorry. Li Fan woke up and quickly apologized to the other party. It's okay. Your emotions might be unstable recently. Night Rain Tower wasn't angry. Rest for a while. Okay. Once I've recovered, I'll leave here. Before Li Fan could finish his words, the well-dressed man came in from outside the door and said straightforwardly, No need to leave. Just stay on my ship. I'll arrange for 2 girls for you to enjoy. Night Rain Tower was embarrassed. He pointed at the man and said, This is Zhang Qianli, an outer disciple of Yijian. He's our external help and the person in charge of the financial group. Yeah, tycoon? Zhang Qianli chuckled. Night Rain Tower laughed. Who calls themselves a tycoon? That's true. I've always been in charge of my family's business. Zhang Qianli said, but my martial arts haven't improved for years. When will I be able to reach the next level? Your focus is on earning money. Naturally, your martial arts haven't improved. Night Rain Tower explained, but if you focus on training, it's not suitable for you to manage such a big business. It's okay. I trained to strengthen my body. Zhang Qianli waved his hand. Then his gaze fell on Li Fan. This must be the legendary little overlord Li Fan. I've heard of your name for a long time. I admire a hero like you. From now on, you can stay here. This ship is your home. Thank you, Brother Qianli. Li Fan thanked him. Mr. Yang stood beside Zhang Qianli. Leaning on his cane, he slowly said, He's just using you. Once he knows that you've lost half of your fighting strength, he'll definitely kick you away. Li Fan began to ignore this Mr. Yang. Have a good rest. I'll call 2 girls over. They're all Russian girls. They came to the ship to play. They really appreciate us Chinese men. Forget it. Li Fan smiled. I'll have a good rest. Okay. As long as you need it, just tell me. Zhang Qianli patted Li Fan's shoulder. A man, isn't it just one arm? No problem. I'll contact an American organization to give you a bionic arm. I heard that America's bionic technology is quite awesome. If you can make a mechanical arm, I guarantee you'll be several times stronger. Zhang Qianli's words reminded Li Fan of Captain America's Winter Soldier. This guy's arm is so strong. But no matter how strong the mechanical arm is, without meridians, it's useless if it can't be infused with qi. Li Fan smiled bitterly. Well, you should know about martial arts. Don't bother Brother Li. Night Rain Tower said, Let him have a good rest. Okay, then we'll leave first. Night Rain Tower reminded Li Fan again. Then he brought Zhang Qianli out. Li Fan was lying there. Mr. Yang stood next to him. Mr. Yang's mouth made a strange smile. In the end, the one accompanying you is still me. Chapter 762. Not knowing how many days the boat has been sailing, Li Fan has somewhat lost the concept of time. During the battle, Li Fan's phone was also broken, and there was no place to repair it on this boat. These few days, he was very lazy and even began to grow a beard on his chin. Li Fan is a martial fighter. Although he lost an arm, his chi and blood are still vigorous. If not controlled, his hair will grow very fast. There is still a chance. You shouldn't give up. Chen Junhua pulled Li Fan to a training room on the boat. I will accompany you to practice. You are talented and will soon be able to regain your previous strength. Probably. Li Fan smiled bitterly. Losing an arm is equal to losing half of my combat power. This is an indisputable fact. You understand it quite well. Mr. Yang stood beside Chen Junhua and smiled at him. If you listened to me earlier, you won't lose your right arm. My right hand is my dominant hand. Li Fan ignored Mr. Yang and continued. With only my left hand, my combat power may not even be left with half. Not to mention fighting, even flying a plane is difficult. That year, Yang Guo mastered the overwhelming sadness palm with one hand. That's a novel. In short, I believe in you, Chen Junhua said and patted his chest. Come on, I will be your dummy and you attack me. This way, he can better test Li Fan's strength. Stop messing around. I'm not in the mood for this. Li Fan's whole body felt a little weak. He has been slacking for a few days. As the saying goes, the fist never leaves the hand. After a few days of not training, Li Fan's body also loosened. You are a martial fighter. Chen Junhua looked at Li Fan and said very seriously, Hit me. No. Hit me. No. Hit me. Li Fan was completely speechless. Once Chen Junhua is serious, there is really no way. Fine. I will hit you. Good. Chen Junhua opened his chest and faced Li Fan. Li Fan raised his left hand and used the Ursa Major seal. With true chi, he slapped Chen Junhua's chest. Bang! Chen Junhua did not move, but smoke splashed. This palm from Li Fan did not cause much damage to him. But Li Fan was even more discouraged and did not want to talk. Just one palm. How long did you train in the past? Chen Junhua asked. A few months. Chen Junhua suddenly didn't feel like talking anymore. He took a deep breath and continued. It's okay. Come on, let's practice. Li Chen Junhua, it was hard to refuse such hospitality, not to mention that Chen Junhua treated him so well. Li Fan was more or less moved. Chen Fan, Chen Junhua's palm. But Chen Junhua also used his true chi to protect his body. No matter how many times Li Fan attacked, he did not care. In the end, Li Fan was not even able to push Chen Junhua back half a step. My strength has regressed too much. Li Fan was somewhat discouraged. I guess I can't do it. You can definitely do it. Now you only have one arm. You can't use the thinking of two hands to think of your fighting technique. Chen Junhua reminded Li Fan. You should change your way of thinking. Let me try. Li Fan thought about it carefully. What Chen Junhua said made sense. He was missing an arm, and his meridians were damaged. It would be difficult to use his previous moves. He raised his left hand and looked at his left palm. He fell into a state of thinking. Chen Junhua quietly accompanied Li Fan. Now that Li Fan needed someone, he could not leave. With Li Fan's current state, it would take him 1 or 2 months to comprehend a one-handed move. In this 1 or 2 months, he must pay attention to his attitude towards Li Fan. He must not be too anxious. Li Fan stood in the training ground, looking at his left hand in a daze. In his mind, he recalled Murong Ying's fire cloud palm. The power of this palm was so strong that it could explode. But if he only practiced the fire cloud palm, he would not be able to rely on it to defeat Murong. Is there any way to make the fire cloud palm even stronger? In Li Fan's mind floated Murong's beloved cold ice palm. That little girl's evil technique was also very powerful. Li Fan's eyes lit up. Can I combine these two palm techniques together? He suddenly sat down cross-legged and entered a state of thinking. Ape-faced Buddha, law embodiment, of heaven and earth. In the state of law embodiment of heaven and earth, Li Fan's ability to understand the moves was also the strongest. He constantly analyzed the subtleties of the two palm techniques, thinking about the similarities between them. The fire cloud palm was incomparably ferocious, while the cold ice palm was incomparably sinister. Combining these two palm techniques was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, Li Fan liked challenges, especially in his current state. He had to give himself something that interested him. Li Fan sat there cross-legged and did not make a sound. Chun Junhua pulled out his sword and stabbed forward again and again. This kind of monotonous practice could actually increase Chun Junhua's strength. Practicing martial arts was originally a kind of hard work, and Li Fan pondered for about 2 to 3 hours. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, took a step, and appeared in front of Chun Junhua. Chun Junhua was taken aback and quickly put away the heavy sword in his hand. "Junhua, eat this palm of mine." Li Fan's palm struck towards Chun Junhua. Chun Junhua did not take it to heart, but when Li Fan's palm was in front of him, his expression suddenly changed. Following that, he raised his heavy sword vertically and blocked in front of him like a door. Dang! Li Fan's palm hit Chun Junhua's heavy sword. This heavy sword was forged with heavy iron and was indestructible. But under the power of Li Fan's palm, a dent was formed, and a clear palm print was imprinted on it. Chun Junhua was shaken and took 3 steps back. He felt that the heavy sword was sometimes hot and sometimes cold. If he did not have true qi, perhaps the sword in his hand would have been thrown away by him. And Li Fan's palm was still emitting a white mist. He did not know if it was hot or cold. Qilin palm? Li Fan was a little excited. This move is called Qilin palm. Fire Qilin, ice Qilin. This was Li Fan's concept of his palm. The power of this palm had surpassed the Dragon Divine General and could reach the state of Qilin. This was Li Fan's evaluation of himself. He was extremely happy. Mr. Yang stood by the side and seemed a little sour. "Qilin, don't you think your evaluation of yourself is too high?" Li Fankai was too lazy to care about Mr. Yang. He looked at his palm and seemed to be thinking about what subtle adjustments could be made. But Chun Junhua was completely stunned. He knew that Li Fan's perception was strong, but this was too strong. In just a short day, in just a few hours, he already thought of this one-handed unique move. Is he still human? Chapter 763. After Li Fan comprehended the Qilin palm, he became active again in the past few days. Every day, he would practice his palm technique in the training room. To Li Fan, who only had his left hand, this technique was his only way out. When he was strong, he provoked many enemies. Now that his martial arts had greatly declined, he needed to have an ultimate skill that could save his life. The people on the ship treated Li Fan very well. Luo Shuowu was also very concerned about Li Fan's condition. "Brother Li, I'm here to visit you." One night, Li Fan was practicing in the training room as usual. Night Rain Tower pushed open the door and entered. He cupped his hands at Li Fan. "It's not good to visit empty-handed." Li Fan was joking. He didn't expect that Night Rain Tower would really take out a lunchbox from behind. "Good wine and good meat. I prepared it for you." I'm just saying. Although Li Fan said so, he was really tempted by it. Night Rain Tower opened the food box. It was filled with food. They were all snacks made by the ship's chef. Most of them were aquatic products. Life on the ship was very monotonous. The food was also very simple. Every time they docked, it was everyone's favorite thing to do. It would take a few days for the ship to reach the headquarters of Sword Reliance. During this time, Li Fan passed his days with fish and prawns. Qian Li hid a few bottles of Maodai. He asked me to steal one. Night Rain Tower secretly took out a bottle of Maodai. Don't tell him. Although he's generous with money, he's very stingy when it comes to alcohol. Fine. Only the heavens and the earth will know about this. Li Fan was shocked to see that there was even a plate of smoked chicken wings inside. "Where did you get this?" "Guo Mingming hid it. I took it out too." "Fuck. Could it be that he hid it in his pants? How is that possible?" Night Rain Tower hurriedly explained. "This is some food Jean Hisao hid for him. He was afraid that he would be hungry. That's good. Li Fan heaved a sigh of relief. If it was Guo Mingming's stash, he wouldn't dare to eat it. God knows where this guy learned it from. His crotch is his refrigerator. Night Rain Tower put down the food and suddenly said to Li Fan, who was about to fight, "If you want to eat, sure. But first, let me see your Qilin Palm." Li Fan's Qilin Palm had already become famous on the ship. Chen Junhua commented that this move could definitely be ranked among the world's ultimate techniques, even surpassing Lu Jinshan's 9 Buddhist Sutra. Sure. Li Fan nodded and stretched out his left hand. My body is disabled, but my will is strong. Please forgive me. Brother Li is really strong. I won't hold back then. As Night Rain Tower spoke, he stretched out his hand, and the sword on his waist immediately flew out of its sheath. It flew in front of him and split into 7 sword shadows. Then, all of them flew towards Li Fan at the same time. 7-star sword. Night Rain Tower was the old man Chang Hong's favorite disciple. Unfortunately, he didn't have the heart to practice martial arts and went to be the commander of Yijian. Now, Chang Hong wanted to find a successor who could inherit his martial arts. He was also in a terrible situation. Night Rain Tower controlled the 7 sword shadows and shot them at Li Fan at the same time. Li Fan took a step back and dodged the 7 sword shadows. Then, another 7 sword shadows went straight for Li Fan. Li Fan dodged again. He understood the 7-star sword. So, this move didn't pose any threat to him. But Night Rain Tower stretched out his hands and drew a circle in the air. The 7 sword shadows on top of his head aimed at Li Fan. Then, one by one, like bullets, they shot towards Li Fan. Every time a sword shadow was ejected, another sword shadow would replace it. Night Rain Tower was like a Gatling gun equipped with a treasured sword. He shot at Li Fan again and again. Li Fan found it hard to dodge this time. Night Rain Tower was really someone with ideas. He could actually use the 7-star sword like this. But Li Fan only used his true chi. This true chi instantly filled his sleeves. Li Fan swung his sleeves. With a clang, it collided with the sword shadows. Like a treasured sword, it shattered the sword shadows. Relying on this move, Li Fan quickly closed in on Night Rain Tower. Then, an iron sleeve slapped towards Night Rain Tower's face. Night Rain Tower used the 7-star sword to block in front of him and escaped. Looking at the 7 sword shadows that were shattered, Night Rain Tower felt a lingering fear. As the saying goes, don't expose people's shortcomings. Hit people, but don't hit their face. Brother Li, this move of yours is a bit too mean. Brother Night is such a magnanimous person. He definitely won't fuss over it, right? Night Rain Tower felt that his words were blocked. This was the first time that he was speechless. All right. Looks like I won't be able to see Qilin Palm today. Realizing that his martial skill was not as good as Li Fan's, Night Rain Tower admitted defeat. He took the food box and placed it in front of the two of them. Come, brotherly, eat. I'm having a good time fighting, and you're thinking about eating. As Li Fan spoke, he picked up a smoked chicken wing. This kind of smoked cooked food was something that Li Fan loved to eat in the past. Eating is a big thing in life. Night Rain Tower smiled. I'm just afraid that Brother Li might not be used to the food on this ship. It's all right, Li Fan said. Other than the taste being a bit bland, everything else is not bad. People who practice martial arts need to eat plain tea and plain food. Night Rain Tower immediately said, if the taste is too heavy, the internal organs will also be out of balance. Brother Li, you also know that us martial arts people cultivate both inside and outside. We can't just cultivate the appearance and not pay attention to the inside. Your inside is all about eating. That's why I said that eating is very important. As the two of them chatted happily, Li Fan felt a bit puzzled. Since Night Rain Tower was a bit tipsy, he asked, Brother Night, what's the relationship between you and that Jean Kumo? Kumo? Night Rain Tower's face was slightly red, making him look somewhat handsome. When he talked about Jean Kumo, his gaze was somewhat gentle. She and I, we had a period of love in the past. What do you mean by in the past? Are we not together now? There were many reasons, so we broke up. Night Rain Tower shrugged. Sometimes, liking someone is just an impulse of hormones. But after knowing each other for a long time, The feeling slowly became wrong. Then do you still like Jean Kumo? Li Fan felt that Jean Kumo still had some feelings for Night Rain Tower. Even if I did, I would pretend that I didn't. Night Rain Tower said straightforwardly, right now, I wholeheartedly want to support Alliance leader Luo and make the Reliance Sword Alliance good. If I can't do it, wouldn't I have wasted my time as a man? Night Rain Tower's words were reasonable. He had his own way of living. Li Fan gave him a thumbs up. This is also because I have no choice. Li Fan sighed and looked at his empty right sleeve. How many things can go according to one's heart? Chapter 764. Let's not talk about this. Night Rain Tower glanced at Li Fan's right hand. Actually, if I said that there's hope for Brother Li's right arm to be reconstructed, would you believe me? Li Fan's expression changed when he heard that. What you said? Is it true? Li Fan was holding a glass of clear Moutai in his hand. The aroma of the wine could no longer attract him. All he cared about now was Night Rain Tower's words. His own arm could be reconstructed? He's lying to you. Mr. Yang stood at the side and winked at Li Fan. Even if it's modern medicine, there's no way to reattach the arm after so long, right? Li Fan could not help but ask. I guess we can only listen to Brother Qian Li's suggestion and get a bionic arm. He definitely doesn't know as much as I do in this aspect. Night Rain Tower said, actually, your fiancé can help you with this arm. What do you mean? Turning illusion into reality. Night Rain Tower continued, using true chi to reconstruct a new arm. Night Rain Tower's words made Li Fan move. It was impossible for him to say that he did not want his arm back. But it's just a thought. Even if Morong Ying could help you reconstruct your arm, there's a time limit to it. If she marries you, she can replenish the true chi in your arm once a day. The problem is, you'll only be enemies in the future. It's okay. Even without a wife, I still have my left arm. Li Fan's words made Night Rain Tower raise his eyebrows. Damn, I'm saying that I can still use my left arm to conquer the world. Yes, I believe Brother Li can do it. Night Rain Tower did not doubt Li Fan's words. You're destined to be a hero among men, famous throughout the world. You're flattering me. I just hope to have a neutral foothold in Jianghu. Li Fan sighed. Unfortunately, some people don't want me, Li Fan, to have an easy time. They won't let me have a good time, so I won't let them have a good time either. All right, as long as Brother Li has any need, just let us know. Our Night Rain Pavilion will definitely rush over to help. Thank you, Brother Yi. Li Fan had a good impression of this Night Rain Pavilion, but he also had a bad impression of it. His feelings were somewhat complicated. Night Rain Tower was a smart person. He could tell that Night Rain Tower wanted to make friend with him. But the bad thing was that this person was too smart, so smart that there were no flaws. Dong Yi was also a smart person, but Dong Yi was a person who had principles when doing things, and could even be very old-fashioned at times. Night Rain Pavilion was different. Sometimes he would do anything. This time, the reason why he fell out with Morong Bo was because the Night Rain House had taken drastic measures to remove the firewood from under the pot. He had brought Luo Shuawu with him to make such a scene on Morong Bo's birthday, which finally made her decide to break off relations with Morong Bo. This person had seen through her and Morong's temper. He knew what the two of them couldn't accept the most. With a clever move, he had successfully cut off the last connection between him and Morong family. However, this was also a dangerous move. Brother Yi, have you ever thought that if I were to be killed by Morong Bo, your E-Sword sect would not be able to obtain anything? Li Fan suddenly blurted out while drinking the fragrant Moutai. Night Rain Pavilion didn't seem to mind, and answered directly. I have thought of it, but even if you die, it can weaken Morong family, which is also good for my E-Sword. He smiled. I know you won't be happy, but we have different standpoints. I stand on E-Sword's side, so I should think for E-Sword. Even if you don't forgive me, I will understand you. I definitely won't forgive you, but I won't do anything to you. Li Fan raised his glass. But there's one thing I have to say. The two of us will never be able to be true friends. You don't mean it? Night Rain Pavilion pretended to be deep and said, if one day you think highly of me, just treat me to a drink. Okay. Li Fan and Night Rain Pavilion clinked their glasses and drank the wine together. Night Rain Pavilion bowed deeply to Li Fan, then turned around and left the training room. Surprisingly, Mr. Yang didn't say anything. He just stood there, watching Night Rain Pavilion leave. "Why didn't you mock me?" Li Fan asked. "This is the first time you took the initiative to talk to me." Mr. Yang grinned. "Why, have you started to admit that you're a madman? Just treat it as my split personality." Li Fan shrugged. "When there's no one around, you can chat with me, and it can relieve my boredom. You should be the leader of eSword." Mr. Yang seemed to be giving an opinion for Li Fan. Even though the Sword Reliance sect isn't a particularly powerful alliance, its members are all elites, and there are very few mobs. In terms of martial arts, Luo Shuwu isn't as good as you. In terms of wisdom, Night Rain Pavilion's wisdom is the best. In my opinion, it's best for you to replace her. It's good for you and eSword. I don't have any thoughts about eSword. This is just my temporary shelter." Li Fan emphasized, "Okay, don't bother me anymore." Mr. Yang became silent, but Li Fan felt that he was even more like a madman. If this goes on, sooner or later, he will have a split personality. He rubbed his temples as he walked out. The deck was very quiet. At this time, most of the crew members were asleep. Li Fan walked to the deck and vaguely saw a slim and beautiful woman standing on the railing in front. He couldn't help but take a few steps closer to see. The moonlight shone on the woman's face, scaring Li Fan so much that he started sweating. "Imperial Concubine Zhou, how have you been?" She glanced at Li Fan's empty right arm. "I forgot that you're sick now. What do you want?" Before Li Fan could finish his words, Imperial Concubine Zhou suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan frowned and poured his true qi into his sleeves. His sleeves were like a whip, striking toward Imperial Concubine Zhou. Imperial Concubine Zhou stretched out her finger and touched the space between Li Fan's eyebrows. Li Fan's eyes became sluggish, and he instantly fainted. "Autumn is dry, so you're a little angry. Come, let me see what kind of ghost technique you're practicing," Imperial Concubine Zhou said. She held Li Fan and jumped onto the sail of the dragon boat. Then, she put her hand on Li Fan's dantian and began to use her technique. The true qi in Imperial Concubine Zhou's body immediately reversed and began to extract true qi from Li Fan's body. And the Star Luo divine skill in Li Fan's body automatically erupted and reversed, snatching the true qi from Imperial Concubine Zhou's hand. "Oh!" Imperial Concubine Zhou couldn't help but laugh. "I didn't expect that you have a pure yang body. Just in time. Let me absorb your pure yang body and practice a top-notch divine skill." Her Vairocana Heart Sutra was flawed. If she wanted to practice it to the Deshang stage, she must have a man with a pure yang body. If she had practiced this divine skill in the past, who in the world would be her opponent? This was truly wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Chapter 765. Imperial Concubine Zhou had always wanted to reach the ultimate realm. During the Great Ming Dynasty, she was unable to achieve it. In the end, she was sealed by her master. But in this life, she could do it. God must be looking out for her, sending Li Fan to her. That's right, she was the one chosen by the heavens. No one could stop her from becoming the queen. She began to exert more strength in her hands, turning her true qi into a ventilator and began to extract the true qi from Li Fan's body. But Li Fan's Star Luo Shengong was also a profound martial art. Unexpectedly, he was able to forcibly resist Imperial Concubine Zhou's attack. Right now, it was like two giants were tearing each other's bodies apart, neither willing to let go. Imperial Concubine Zhou was somewhat angry. Who was she? Her martial arts had actually been blocked by Li Fan. She was not convinced, so she increased the strength of her true qi. Even if this would take away Li Fan's life force, she did not hesitate. Unfortunately, this interesting guy Li Fan was going to die like this. But at this time, the true qi in Li Fan's body seemed to have taken drugs. In an instant, it began to erupt. Suddenly, it began to absorb the true qi from Imperial Concubine Zhou's body. Imperial concubine Zhou was shocked. In terms of qi, she was obviously stronger than Li Fan. Why was she weaker at this moment? Just when Imperial concubine Zhou was about to figure it out, Luo Shu suddenly came to the deck and happened to see the scene of Imperial concubine Zhou absorbing Li Fan's Jinqi. "You are," before Luo Shu could finish speaking, a figure suddenly flew out from Imperial concubine Zhou's body. This figure was exactly the same as Imperial concubine Zhou. Imperial concubine Zhou had used her Jinqi to create a clone. The doppelganger instantly hit Luo Shuwu. Luo Shuwu let out a muffled groan. Before she could react, she was knocked out and hit the iron plate behind her. Imperial concubine Zhou's expression turned somewhat sinister. She didn't understand why her Jinqi couldn't defeat Li Fan. This was the Vairocana Heart Sutra that he had painstakingly researched. Why did he lose to Li Fan's Kung Fu? At this time, Li Fan was still unconscious, but his star Luo Shengong had automatically defeated Imperial concubine Zhou. Imperial concubine Zhou had no choice but to forcefully break the connection between the two of them. Li Fan's star Luo Divine Exercise also automatically dispersed. Imperial concubine Zhou leaned against the railing. Her forehead was full of cold sweat. Terrifying, it was truly terrifying. After cultivating for so many years and being sealed for so many years, this was the first time she felt fear. Even if it was a minute before she was sealed, Imperial concubine Zhou still had an indifferent attitude, because she knew that she was the undying evil Buddha. One day, she would leave the grave and return to this world to exact her revenge. Then, she would become a high and mighty queen. Strange, Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan. She wanted to know what kind of martial arts Li Fan practiced. However, Li Fan seemed to be particularly stubborn. If he fought to the death with him, he might not get the answer he wanted. If she couldn't absorb his true qi, this pure yang body expert would be of no use to her. In order to reach the highest realm of martial arts and become a king-level expert who truly surpassed a generation's grandmaster, Imperial concubine Zhou decided to try to win over Li Fan's favor. Only by letting him put down all his defenses would she be able to smoothly absorb his pure yang body. Thinking of this, Imperial concubine Zhou waved her hand and used her true qi to wake up Li Fan. Li Fan rubbed his forehead and sat there. Then, he saw Imperial concubine Zhou standing in front of him. Mr. Yang, who was standing next to Imperial concubine Zhou, also smiled at him. "Make good use of this woman. She can help you. Don't be angry." Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan and said, "This Imperial has no intention of harming you. However, seeing that your body is disabled, this Imperial concubine took pity on you. I don't need your sympathy." Li Fan roared, but Imperial concubine Zhou's hand had already pressed on his shoulder. "Even if you don't want it, this Imperial concubine will help you." Imperial concubine Zhou's true qi instantly poured into Li Fan's body. Li Fan's right sleeve suddenly shook. He felt a kind of pain. It seemed to be the legendary phantom pain. What did Imperial concubine Zhou do to me? Li Fan looked at his right hand. It had regrown. "Your right hand was remolded by me using my true qi." Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan and said with a smile, "This is the kung fu that you despise the most. How do you feel?" Li Fan looked at his right hand. It was as if he had been reborn and was full of strength. From the outside, this hand was no different from an ordinary person's hand. Even the meridians inside had been completely remolded. In order to create her own body, Imperial concubine Zhou had spent an unknown amount of time studying the human body. She had a very thorough understanding of the human body structure. Li Fan looked at his right hand. He felt that his current hand was more useful than before. However, it was constantly absorbing the true qi in his body. Because this arm is remolded by true qi, it will constantly absorb your true qi as energy. Imperial concubine Zhou reminded Li Fan, "You must not let your true qi be consumed. Otherwise, this Imperial concubine will have to make another arm for you, which is very troublesome." After Imperial concubine Zhou finished speaking, she gently jumped and landed on the railing behind her under the moonlight. "Li Fan, How far can you go? This imperial concubine is very curious. Demoness, why are you helping me? Li Fan did not believe that imperial concubine Zhou was so kind-hearted. She wanted to help him? Impossible. If this woman was so kind-hearted, she would not have been sealed under the water. This imperial concubine is just doing a good deed. This imperial concubine has always been kind. There is nothing to doubt. You? Kind-hearted? Li Fan wanted to laugh. I think you should wake up. Look at your right hand. You owe me a favor. Imperial concubine Zhou pointed at Li Fan's right arm and leisurely said, Ah. Li Fan stood up, stretched out his hand, and directly cut off his arm. Imperial concubine Zhou was shocked. This was the true Qi arm that she made for Li Fan. How could he just cut it off like this? This guy, is he crazy? He would rather be a disabled person? This favor, I'd rather not have it. Li Fan endured the pain in his arm and said to Imperial concubine Zhou, Since you've come, then leave your life here. With that, his left hand emitted white smoke. The Qilin palm had begun to brew. Even if she was standing on the railing, 10 meters away from Li Fan, Imperial concubine Zhou still felt nervous. What kind of palm technique is this? This kid only has one arm, but he can still study this kind of terrifying technique? The last time she saw him under the water, he did not have this kind of palm technique, worthy of being a pure young body. Indeed, an interesting guy. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan and could not help but lick her lips. In the end, how many more surprises can he give me? Then let's call it a night. The future is long. We'll meet again next time. After leaving these words, Imperial concubine Zhou's figure disappeared from the surface of the lake. Li Fan blinked his eyes. Damn, this woman actually ran away. Chapter 766. When Luo Xiaowu woke up, she found herself lying on Li Fan's bed. She only vaguely remembered that she seemed to have been knocked unconscious by a woman. Li Fan? Luo Xiaowu sat up from Li Fan's bed. At this time, Li Fan was sitting next to her with his eyes closed, as if he didn't care about anything. You're awake. Li Fan was sitting on the side, his clothes neat and tidy. Luo Xiaowu glanced at him with a trace of surprise in her eyes. Your right hand? Li Fan's right hand was growing there. Wasn't his right arm broken? It's a long story. Li Fan smiled. Previously, he had cut off Imperial concubine Zhou's arm, but when Imperial concubine Zhou reconnected his arm with her true Qi, he was impulsive and cut off the arm that had been reconnected. However, when Imperial concubine Zhou reconnected Li Fan's arm, Li Fan felt that there was something special about it. Although he didn't turn illusions into reality, Li Fan could exquisitely control his true Qi, and at the same time, he had the power of abnormal bone changing. Li Fan discovered that after activating his aberration bone changing technique with his true Qi, he could actually recreate his own body. The true Qi left by Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be active, as if there was an invisible template there. According to the template left, Li Fan activated his abnormal bone changing and regenerated his right arm while Luo Xiaowu was sleeping. This regenerated right arm was a little weak. After all, it wasn't like other parts of the body that had undergone training. If he wanted to restore his right arm, he still needed to train it more. Abnormal bone changing. It's indeed a powerful martial art. Luo Xiaowu looked at Li Fan with some envy. This kind of ability couldn't be cultivated. It was innate. Other than envy, there was no other way. If only she had such an ability. Yi Jian would definitely become stronger under her leadership. But it didn't matter now. Li Fan was by her side. With him around, the world could be conquered. Especially Li Fan, who had recovered his right arm. It's good that you've recovered. But who was that woman last night? Luo Xiaowu remembered that she had fainted. This woman had a famous name in the Great Ming Dynasty. Li Fan said, I don't know if you have heard of the undying evil Buddha. Wait. Luo Xiaowu's expression also changed. You mean that undying evil Buddha? Yes, that's her. She was resurrected? Oh, have you heard of her? When I was at Murong's house, I heard about her. I just didn't expect her to really exist. Yes, this woman is very powerful. She's almost immortal. My arm being able to recover is probably thanks to her help. You and her, Have a good relationship? How is that possible? We are mortal enemies. Li Fan said without hesitation. I have to seize the time to practice and improve my strength to that of a grandmaster. Otherwise, I will die in the hands of Imperial concubine Zhou. With that, Li Fan glanced at Luo Xiaowu. If you let me join Yijian, it means that I will have to face endless experts. Not only the Jianghu forces, but also many enemies in society. Are you willing? You underestimate my e-sword too much, Luo Xiaowu said without hesitation. Even if I have to exhaust the last soldier of Yijian, I will protect you. Why are you helping me? Li Fan couldn't help but ask, am I that important to Yijian? Yijian is so important to everyone. We can sacrifice our lives for each other. Luo Xiaowu told Li Fan. This is Yijian's principle and promise. I have phenomenal escort agency. It's impossible for me to join other alliances. Li Fan felt that he shouldn't let Luo Xiaowu have any expectations of him. It doesn't matter. Luo Xiaowu waved her hand. Look at Zhang Qianli. He has his own business to take care of. You just need to hang the name of Yijian. We don't have any other requirements. Am I really that important to you? Li Fan was still very surprised. He wasn't the strongest expert. Why did Yijian want to take him in? It's your potential. Luo Xiaowu looked at Li Fan. In your choice. Choice? Yes. Luo Xiaowu pointed at Li Fan's right hand. Didn't you make your choice during Morongbo's birthday? You chose Yijian and not Morongbo. I just hate Morongbo. Li Fan curled his lips. That old man looks like a dog on the surface, but he does shameful things behind the scenes. That's right. When Luo Xiaowu mentioned Morongbo, a trace of hatred flashed in her eyes. He killed my Yijian disciple. I must take revenge for this. After she finished speaking, she looked at Li Fan. Moreover, we've already slept together. You must marry me. What the hell? Li Fan hurriedly said. That's not right. I only let you sleep in my room for one night. It was too late yesterday, and I didn't know where your room was. So, I could only send you here for one night. That's right, but will others believe this excuse? Luo Xiaowu looked at Li Fan. My innocence has already been ruined by your hands. Do you not want to take responsibility? Alliance Master Luo. In that situation yesterday, if I didn't sleep in the same room as you, what else could I do? Moreover, after I put you on the bed, I, Li Fan, didn't do anything to you. You could put me here and sleep in the training room. Luo Xiaowu blinked her eyes. There's a bed there, right? Yeah. Li Fan wanted to slap himself. Damn it. How could he forget about this? This is really fucked up. Is this Luo Xiaowu going to blame me? Alliance Master Luo, I agreed to join your sword alliance. But about this marriage, can we not talk about it? Do you mean that I'm not worthy of you? Luo Xiaowu raised her head and looked at Li Fan unhappily. That's not it. Alliance Master Luo is also as beautiful as a flower and is comparable to a fairy. I think that in this pugilistic world, there shouldn't be a man who would refuse your invitation. Then why did you refuse? Chapter 767. There's no need. Luo Xiaowu said, many people get married first and then fall in love. It's normal. That's the old society you're talking about. Li Fan immediately attacked Luo Xiaowu. Leader Luo, what era are we living in? You need to change your feudal thinking. Really? Luo Xiaowu countered Li Fan. In the modern society, there are many men and women who have feelings and marry freely. Are there any divorces among these people? Li Fan was instantly speechless. Luo Xiaowu seemed to be a man of few words, but her words were full of sarcasm, making people unable to accept it. When we get to Yijian, let's get married. Luo Xiaowu continued. If you're willing, I can give you the position of leader of Yijian. You could be the leader, and I will wholeheartedly assist you. Mr. Yang stood behind Luo Xiaowu, touched her cheek with one hand, and said to Li Fan with a smile, come on, conquer this woman, control her under your body, and become the real supreme master of Wulin. His inner demon was getting more and more serious, but Li Fan was somewhat used to it, so he just ignored him. But Mr. Yang's hand even reached into Luo Xiaowu's chest and rubbed it wantonly. However, All of this existed in Li Fan's eyes, and Luo Shuwu did not see it, nor would she feel it. Come, ravage her like I did, and she will surrender to your arms. Mr. Yang licked his lips and said to Li Fan. Li Fan continued to ignore Mr. Yang, whose existence was like a demon in his heart. What do you think? Luo Shuwu seemed to be asking for Li Fan's opinion, but Li Fan always felt that she seemed to have thought of everything. Your proposal is very tempting, Li Fan said frankly. If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely be tempted. But I'm a person who likes to run my own business. It's my business, and I'll fight for it myself. Previously, when I lost my right hand, I was a bit disheartened, which was my fault. But now my right hand is back, and I will be stronger than before. Li Fan confidently said, I will use my hands to create a new world. Have you ever thought that if you become the leader of the Sword Reliance Alliance, you can even subdue the other 3 alliances and rebuild the World Alliance? I'm not interested in your conditions at all. Li Fan laughed. The World Alliance belongs to Lu Jinshan. Why should I take over his mess? That's true. Luo Shuwu felt that Li Fan was very ambitious, and she admired such a man. I'll join Sword Reliance. After all, it doesn't matter if it's Night Rain Tower's conspiracy or not. It can be said that we're fated. Li Fan said, From now on, I will live and die with you, and share prosperity with you. That's good to hear. Luo Shuwu nodded. Have you considered the marriage? Oh, how should I put it? Other than being a martial artist, I'm still a third-year high school student. Li Fan reminded Luo Shuwu, Don't mention marriage within a year. I still want to go to university. Luo Shuwu felt awkward. She had forgotten about this matter. Now that things are so bad with Morong's family, do you still want to go back to school? She suggested. You should focus on cultivating now. It's all important. Li Fan didn't forget his identity. No matter when, I must persevere and finish my studies. I'm really looking forward to my university life. I really don't understand. Luo Shuwu looked strangely at Li Fan. You're obviously an expert, but why do you want to live the life of an ordinary person? What's the life of an expert? The reason why Li Fan wanted to be the strongest was because he didn't like to be bullied. In short, I won't think about marriage now. All right, Alliance Leader Luo, you've rested enough. Hurry back to your room. Luo Shuwu was slightly resentful. She bit her lips lightly. If Night Rain Tower and the others saw this, their jaws would probably drop. They're Yi Jian's Alliance Leader Luo. She actually revealed the expression of a little girl. It was really unbelievable. Alliance Leader Luo, please. Li Fan also wanted to train his right Qilin arm, so he once again issued an eviction order. Humph! Luo Shuwu was very dissatisfied. She turned and left Li Fan's room. Li Fan finally got some peace and quiet. He sat on the chair in his room, while Mr. Yang sat on the bed opposite him. You let her go just like that? Mr. Yang asked Li Fan. You clearly had the chance to ravage her. My inner demon is quite perverted. Li Fan snorted. Don't bother me anymore. Hurry up and disappear. I can't disappear. Mr. Yang shrugged his shoulders. You always don't want to admit that I'm actually a part of you. Moreover, I'm the truest part of you. Mr. Yang looked at Li Fan and continued. Why do you have to live so tirelessly? Why don't you just relax a little? He could kill whoever he wanted and fuck whoever he wanted. Why do you have to suffer for those women? You should ride on top of them and control them. Mr. Yang's words made Li Fan a little tempted. It was impossible to say that a man had no desire for women. There was probably no man who didn't want to live a life of being the emperor's harem of 3,000. He could do whoever he wanted and make whoever he wanted to serve him in bed. There was no man who didn't want to live such a life. Li Fan was also an ordinary man. He also had some desires that men had. But he was different. He was a person who knew what he should want and what he shouldn't want. He simply closed his eyes and didn't look at Mr. Yang. As long as you want it, the world will be yours. At that time, all the women in the world will also be yours. It seems that I should learn Buddhist Kung Fu. Li Fan sighed. It seemed that he should look for Subhoodie to learn the invincible golden body. But it seemed that only Subhoodie could practice this Kung Fu. He might not be able to practice it, but it was also good to learn some Cleansing Heart Sutra. If you don't care about inner demons, I'm afraid it will become more and more arrogant in the future. Li Fan had already closed his eyes and began to silently chant the Heart Sutra. This Heart Sutra of the Buddhist sect was very useful. After Li Fan chanted it more than 10 times, Mr. Yang's nagging in his ears slowly became softer. When Li Fan opened his eyes again, Mr. Yang was still sitting in front of him, dozing off on the bed. "Sorry, I fell asleep." Mr. Yang rubbed his eyes. "It's boring to have a man accompany you to sleep every day. Find a woman to sleep with you, especially a woman with high martial arts. You have a pure yang body. The power obtained from kissing is far from enough. Through dual cultivation, you can quickly become the world's supreme master." Chapter 768. It seemed like relying on the Heart Sutra would not be able to avoid this inner demon. Li Fan decided to do something else and temporarily forget about him. He picked up the stone hammer in the corner of the room and began to exercise his right arm. His right arm had just regrown, and the muscles on it were not very developed yet. He had to train it well. Li Fan spent another 2 days on the ship, and the group gradually approached the headquarters of Sword Reliance. Because they were hiding in the Kunlun mountain range, the ship could only dock at a nearby port first, and then the group of people could take a car there. In comparison, Yi seemed to be living in a paradise. However, this peach orchard was a little cold. Tomorrow morning, they would be able to approach the port. This is the last night Li Fan and the others will spend on the ship. Zhang Qinli purposely prepared a large banquet on the ship, as if he wanted to send them off respectfully. He was Isword's external help and was in charge of managing Isword's business, so he spent most of his time outside. However, Zhang Qinli seemed to like this job very much. "Everyone, tonight will be our last night. Everyone, don't stand on ceremony with me. Let's party to our heart's content." At the banquet, Zhang Qinli held a large jar of new or hong and went from table to table toasting. When it came to Li Fan's table, he sighed. "Hey, brother Li, originally, I had kept a bottle of top-notch Maodai and was planning to get drunk with you today. In the end, some greedy person stole it. I couldn't find it no matter how hard I searched." Li Fan smiled awkwardly. It's okay. Daughter Hong is not bad either. But what? There were still a lot of new or Hong sealed in mud on the boat. Today, Zhang Qinli took them out to entertain them. It was obvious that Zhang Qinli was quite generous. In terms of wine, they weren't as stingy as Night Rain Tower claimed. Li Fan felt guilty. He was about to say something when he saw Night Rain waving at him with his back to Zhang Qinli. "When you come to H City next time, I'll make some good wine to treat you." "Sure, I'll definitely look for you when I go to H City in the future." "Yes, it's a deal." Li Fan chatted with Zhang Qinli for a while. Then Zhang Qinli turned around and left, muttering something. "Looks like he didn't drink it. If I find out who did it, I'll definitely kill him." Li Fan's forehead was full of cold sweat. Night Rain Tower was really smart. This guy was really a drinker. These people exchanged toasts, and the 4 heavenly kings all came over to toast Li Fan. Guo Mingming was simply a wine jar. He held a jar of new or hong in one hand and followed behind Zhang Xiaodian and the rest. "Brother Li, congratulations on regaining your right arm." Zhang Xiaodian was now filled with admiration towards Li Fan. "To be able to cultivate to this level, you're simply too awesome. It could even repair a broken hand." "What a gecko," Li Fan said. "Are you praising me or insulting me? Seriously, can you teach me? If I lose an arm or a leg in the future, I can repair it." "Don't talk nonsense. This is the aberration bone-changing technique. You won't be able to learn it." Jin Jimao glared at Zhang Xiaodian. His brother chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. Come. Let's not talk anymore. Let's drink." Zhang Xiaodian held a bowl of new or hong and toasted Li Fan. "From today onwards, we're all brothers. If there's anything, please take care of me. Don't mention it. We're all brothers from now on." Li Fan also raised his bowl and clinked it with Zhang Xiaodian's. This new or hong was mellow and tasty. Li Fan drank a large bowl, but his head was still slightly sober. He did not show any signs of being drunk. After such a long time, Li Fan felt that he could still drink a lot more. Come, Come, come drink. Guomingming directly stepped forward, raised 2 large wine jars, and started pouring them into his mouth. Li Fan was dumbfounded. Damn, is this drinking? This is drinking like a waterfall. Guomingming, this is too ferocious. This Guomingming was indeed a great drinker. After drinking 2 large jars of wine, he wiped his mouth and burped. Come, drink. Although Guomingming's mind was a little muddled, he kept pulling Li Fan to drink. He probably learned it from his companions. Li Fan had no choice but to pick up a big bowl. However, Guomingming waved his hand repeatedly. No, I drink more, you drink less. But there are no more wine jars. Li Fan said, yes. As Guomingming spoke, he actually pulled open his crotch and took out a wine jar. Fuck me. How did you put it in? Li Fan was on the verge of collapsing. Although this wine jar was only the size of an adult's palm, it was hidden in his crotch. No matter how he thought about it, it was impossible. Could it be that this brother's crotch was Doraemon's dimensional bag? Guomingming took out a piece of bread and a chicken leg from inside. He looked at Li Fan and ate with relish. However, the surrounding people were used to it and continued to eat by themselves. Li Fan lost his appetite to drink, but Guomingming was just a fool. He had a good heart. Li Fan had to drink a toast to his brother. I will risk my life to accompany a gentleman. Li Fan reached out his trembling hand to pick up the wine jar on the side of the table. At this moment, Luo Shuowu walked over and handed a new wine jar to Li Fan. Drink this, Li Fan. Leader. The surrounding people all saluted Luo Shuowu. Luo Shuowu raised her cup to them one after another. Thank you. Li Fan took the normal wine jar and heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't expect Luo Shuowu to be so kind and come to his rescue at the critical moment. After Li Fan finished the wine in the wine jar, Guomingming turned around and left. You drank quite a lot, so I won't be respectful to you. Jin Jioma was virtuous at this moment. He handed over a cup of hot tea. Drink some hot tea to get rid of the alcohol. Thank you so much. This girl is quite nice. After all, we were classmates for a period of time. I didn't spend time with her for nothing. Li Fan silently thanked Jin Jioma. Night Rain also came forward with a cup of hot tea. Since Mao Mao said not to let you drink, I can't force you. Jin Jioma clicked his tongue and walked to the side. That's why women are especially troublesome. Night Rain squinted at Li Fan, who was gloating. You should have a deep understanding of this. Mr. Yang stood beside Night Rain and pointed at Jin Jioma, who was drinking alone. Remember the jade mantis in your goo of 7 emotions and 6 desires? It is very suitable for this woman. Li Fan quickly pinched his thumb and forefinger. What am I thinking? How can I have such a thought? This Mr. Yang really reflects the deepest thoughts in my heart. Chapter 769. Li Fan scolded himself in his heart. Why do I always like to let my imagination run wild now? However, Jin Jimo's strongest move was the Mantis Fist. The Jade Mantis was indeed the most suitable for her. Damn, why am I thinking like this again? Jin Jilma is the woman that Night Rain Tower likes. How can I snatch her away? However, thinking about it, my favorite Liao Wushuang seems to be the woman that Bai Lin Luo likes as well. What's going on? Why do I like to snatch others so much? That's because you are like me deep down. Mr. Yang sat beside Jin Jilma and put his hand on Jin Jilma's chest again. This man is getting more and more outrageous. Li Fan retracted his gaze and met Night Rain Tower's eyes. Brotherly, are you interested in Jin Jilma? Night Rain Tower suddenly asked. No. Li Fan quickly denied it. How did Night Rain Tower know? Night Rain Tower didn't say much, but when Li Fan looked at Jin Jilma just now, there was a trace of lust in his eyes. I hope that I'm just seeing things. They all tested Li Fan's character, and there was no problem. He was indeed an upright person. This kind of integrity in his bones couldn't be faked. Li Fan suddenly licked his lips and felt his lust rise a little. What's going on at this moment? Luo Shu suddenly walked over and grabbed Li Fan's arm. He might be a little drunk. I'll bring him to rest. Yes, Chief. Night Rain Tower cupped his hands and understood a little. Luo Shuwu pulled Li Fan and sent him back to her room. Along the way, Li Fan felt as if he couldn't control his body. He just wanted to climb onto Luo Shuwu's body subconsciously, push her down to the ground, tear off her clothes, and enter her body. Li Fan was trying his best to restrain his desire. What the hell was going on? Although Li Fan was not light, Luo Shuwu was also a martial artist. She easily carried him into the room and put him on the bed. Li Fan. Luo Shuwu didn't leave. Instead, she sat beside Li Fan and reached out a hand to touch Li Fan's cheek. I'm sorry, I had to resort to this, but you're the man I've chosen. No matter what, I'm going to have you. Alliance Master Luo. Li Fan looked at Luo Shuwu and frowned deeply. Looking at his current appearance, he was definitely drugged. No matter what, you're still the Alliance Master. How could you use such a method, Humph? Luo Shuwu raised her eyebrows and said, I will fight for whatever Murong Ying likes. I see. As Li Fan had thought, Luo Shuwu had only known him for a short time. So how could she suddenly fall in love with him? Reality wasn't a novel. Where did the protagonist's halo come from? She wanted to marry him just to win against Murong Ying once. If you want to win against her, can't you just defeat her? Why do you have to use such a method? Whether it's martial arts or love, I want to win against her. Luo Shuwu said without hesitation. Li Fan, remember, you're my man from now on. With that, she lay down beside Li Fan. Li Fan resisted the desire in his body. Looking at Luo Shuwu lying beside him and smelling the fragrance on her body, he couldn't help but ask, You sleep with me just like this? Yeah, sleep with you just like this. Luo Shuwu nodded and looked firm. Sleep until tomorrow morning, and we can have a baby. At that time, what's done can't be undone. You can't deny it even if you want to. Li Fan said, Why are these two top-grade Jianghu women so innocent? Fuck. It doesn't mean sleeping together can make you pregnant. You're lying. Luo Shuwu didn't believe Li Fan's explanation. When we were at Murong's house, Murong Ying's nanny and I said the same thing. Boys and girls can't sleep together. If they sleep together, they will have a baby. Li Fan was completely convinced. No wonder. All right, I seem to have forgotten one step. Luo Shuwu turned her head and looked at Li Fan, blinking her beautiful big eyes. Li Fan looked at her eyes as if he was looking at the stars in the sky. They were very beautiful. We have to kiss each other. Luo Shuwu was very domineering. In this aspect, she was much better than Murong Ying. Murong Ying was domineering at other times, but when it came to sex, she was extremely shy. She turned over and actually rode on Li Fan's body. Then, she pressed her mouth on Li Fan's. Although she was domineering, her movements were a lot jerky. Obviously, she hadn't studied much in this aspect. Luo Shuwu's lips were very soft. She pressed on Li Fan's lips. In her heart, it seemed that she could get pregnant like this. What a simple woman. After Li Fan mocked her, the feeling came. The desire in his body rose to the extreme and was pushing his body, as if something was controlling his body. A great beauty was so active. As a man, how could he not feel it? What's more, his body had been drugged by Luo Shuwu. Desire was like a flame, burning Li Fan's body. Li Fan couldn't restrain himself. He suddenly stretched out his hands and directly tore Luo Shuwu's clothes. Luo Shuwu was a little surprised, but she restrained herself. It seemed that giving birth to a child required her to take off her clothes. In the end, this man couldn't escape from the palm of her hand. Humph! Luo Shuwu's clothes were torn by Li Fan, but she wasn't shy at all. Anyway, people were born naked. Moreover, this was her future husband. What was there to be shy about? However, Li Fan's next action made Luo Shuwu a little flustered. Li Fan stretched out his hands and held Luo Shuwu's breasts. The shape of Alliance Master Luo's breasts was very perfect. Although they weren't very big, they could be held with one hand. Li Fan wanted this ice beauty to be as hot as fire in bed. Li Fan turned over and pressed Luo Shuwu under his body. Anyway, he had already been drugged. What was there to be afraid of? He could just enjoy it. Li Fan's eyes were full of evil. He looked at the beauty under him and even had an impulse to tear her apart. Being pressed under Li Fan, Luo Shuwu didn't seem very happy. No, I want to be on top. Luo Shuwu turned over again and rode on Li Fan's body. She looked at Li Fan under her and suddenly asked, "Have you done this with Moronging?" No. Li Fan wasn't in the mood to chat. He just wanted to vent the fire in his body. That's good. Luo Shuwu became happy. Li Fan pulled off Luo Shuwu's pants and was ready to fight. This was a battle to declare sovereignty. He couldn't lose. Chapter 770. Li Fan was about to raise a spear, but as soon as he touched the door, a violent chill immediately came from under Luo Shuwu and poured into Li Fan's body, freezing him like a zombie. Li Fan shivered, and his body was still emitting cold air. Li Fan's lust was all frozen and shrank back. Fuck. Li Fan's body kept shivering. What the hell are you? Luo Shuwu looked at Li Fan in surprise. What's wrong with you? You're so cold down there. Well, it should be because of the mysterious ice of the 9 heavens. Luo Shuwu said casually. I don't have a purine body, so I have some sequelae. Fuck, it doesn't matter if you have sequelae. I can't stand it. The little effect in Li Fan's body was completely frozen by Luo Shuwu's cold air. He picked up Luo Shuwu and put her aside. Then he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to circulate his qi to regulate his breath. The innate qi in his body also seemed to be frozen. Li Fan revolved 7 by 7 for 49 cycles before he digested all the cold energy in his body. When he woke up, Luo Shuwu had already tidied up her clothes, wearing only a simple red belly band, and was sitting opposite him. Li Fan was a little speechless. What era was it? Why did she still wear belly bands? Husband, you're awake? Luo Shuwu became a little gentle, looking at Li Fan with watery eyes. It's too early to call me husband. We've already had physical intimacy. Why can't I call you husband? Luo Shuwu asked. Not yet, okay. Li Fan was quite speechless. The most important thing hasn't been done yet. Haven't we touched and kissed? Do you want to renege on your promise? Luo Shuwu seemed a little unhappy. It's not what you think, Li Fan said. I'm so thin-skinned, but I have to explain such a blushing and heartbeat problem. He leaned close to Luo Shuwu's ear and told her the key point. I see. Luo Shuwu didn't really understand. Do you understand? Isn't it just a train entering a cave? What's there to not understand? Luo Shuwu said, Anyway, you and I will be husband and wife sooner or later. If you want to come in, just come in. Fuck, it's not that I don't want to go in. It's just that your place is an ice cave. Go to hell? I guess, if I didn't have some strength, I wouldn't be able to be your wife. Li Fan told him the truth. With your current physique, you won't be able to enter without the skills of a grandmaster. Why? Do you even need to ask? Only a generation's grandmaster can practice martial arts to such a high level. Li Fan was also very helpless. Although sleeping with Luo Shuwu wasn't his original intention, no matter what, he had finally made up his mind to end his life as a manual driver for so many years. He didn't expect that he would fail in the end. The road of life was indeed bumpy. Why don't you put that thing on the fire to roast, and then put it in? Luo Shuwu's question almost made Li Fan cry. How could he barbecue this fellow? Roasting a human penis with cumin? I can't talk to you. Li Fan waved his hand. It was too tiring to talk like this. We are husband and wife. We could talk about anything. We haven't done it yet. Don't talk about it so early. Li Fan reminded her hurriedly. Sooner or later. Then we'll talk about it on that day. Li Fan just wanted to have a good sleep now and didn't want to think about anything else. Are we going to separate tomorrow? Luo Shuwu sat at the head of Li Fan's bed and sighed faintly. After all, I still have my own things to do. Li Fan waved his right hand. And no matter whether my right hand is still there or not, I don't want to rely on the sword to survive. I understand. Luo Shuwu looked at Li Fan deeply. Then I'll let you develop first. But when you leave, you'll still be the sword. Got it? After Li Fan finished speaking, he closed his eyes. Although the effect of the drug had passed, the alcohol came. Li Fan's alcohol tolerance was not big. He leaned on the pillow and began to feel dizzy. Soon he fell asleep. You slept well. Luo Xiuwu sighed. She opened the quilt and covered Li Fan with it. Then she took the initiative to get into Li Fan's quilt. After practicing the Nine Heavens mystic ice technique, his body often felt cold. But Li Fan's body had a warm aura, like a small stove. Luo Xiuwu couldn't help hugging Li Fan to warm herself. Unknowingly, Luo Xiuwu also fell asleep. Yijian's boat finally approached the port. Li Fan got off the boat. There was a Land Rover waiting for him outside. "Husband, I'll send you here." Luo Xiuwu was wearing a white plain dress. She stood on the dock and looked at the high-spirited Li Fan in front of her. "I'll wait for you to marry me," added Yijian. "Okay." Li Fan didn't know what to say, but Luo Xiuwu's gaze was firm. He couldn't say anything to refuse. Yijian's group watched Li Fan leave. He said goodbye to them and sat in the Land Rover. Li Fan cultivated on the boat for a few days. Now it was time to return to H City. Without him in Fiefan Escort Agency, he didn't know what it was like now and if anyone bullied them. "Li Fan, do you really plan to go back?" At this moment, the driver who had been driving silently suddenly spoke. Li Fan was shocked. He looked in the rearview mirror. Sure enough, the driver was a familiar face. "Lu Zhu, why are you here? I heard something happened to you. I was worried, so I came to take a look." Seeing that Li Fan's right hand was still there, Lu Zhu heaved a sigh of relief. "I thought your right hand was really chopped off. You scared me." "It was chopped off, but it grew out again." Li Fan smiled. Lu Zhu almost stepped on the brake. "Are you kidding me? You're not a gecko." "I'm much more tenacious than a gecko." Li Fan laughed. "I don't care about losing an arm or a leg." "Fuck, what a pervert," Lu Zhu couldn't help but mutter. "How did you find me?" Li Fan was very concerned about this. However, Lu Zhu smiled. "Yijian is such a big boat. How could I not see you? It's really not difficult to track you guys." "So, Morong and Bo can also find me?" "Yes. Do you see the two black Toyotas behind?" Lu Zhu pointed to the back. "They're all from Morong's family. They won't let you off so easily." "It's okay. We'll deal with it when it comes." Li Fan looked back. "Let them come." At this moment, in the Toyota behind, a young man called Morong Feather was sitting. He was a young expert from Morong's family. He ran the family business nearby. He had always been very depressed. He didn't have a chance to make a name for himself. But now, the chance had come. Chapter 771. Li Fan actually came to my territory. This little overlord, Li Fan, has the guts to challenge Morong's family. If it was him in the past, Morong Feather would not dare to provoke him. But now it's different. Li Fan has lost an arm and lost half of his fighting strength. Little Overlord is no longer effective. Their car turned into the tunnel. The thug in charge of driving said, "Follow them and trap him in the tunnel," Morong Feather ordered. He had already laid a trap and was waiting for Li Fan to jump into it. Lu Zhu, who had no idea how to sneak into Yijian, suddenly slammed his foot on the brake and almost threw Li Fan out. "My God, are you trying to throw me back to H cities?" Li Fan stabilized his body and could not help but ask. They blocked the tunnel. Lu Zhu pointed at the entrance of the tunnel and saw a large truck blocking their way. "Not bad. This is really a big move." Li Fan could not help but praise. "To use such a scene to catch me, Li Fan is giving me Li Fan face. The person in charge of this area should be Morong Feather." Lu Zhu said, "He's a very arrogant guy. I guess he wants to catch you to earn some merit." Then let's meet him." Li Fan sat in the car and rolled down the window. Sure enough, Morong Feather brought a group of people and surrounded him. "Li Fan, this is my territory. Where do you think you're going?" "This should be the country's territory. When did it become yours?" Li Fan smiled, and the sarcasm in his smile was very strong. "Do I still need to report to you?" "You don't have to report." In Morong Feather's eyes, Li Fan is already a dead man. "But don't think about walking out alive today. Your tone is quite arrogant. That's the style of your Morong family." Li Fan was not angry. He said unhurriedly, "Since you dared to come, do you have something in mind?" "Li Fan, stop trying to be a hero. You are destined to die here today." "Really?" Li Fan was unmoved. What makes you say that? Just because you're a cripple now. Murong Feather looked at Li Fan, who was sitting in the car. You're too daring. After provoking the Murong family, instead of hiding under the protection of Yi Jian, you actually dare to come out and behave atrociously. I think you still don't know life from death. Your Murong family is too overbearing. Do you really want to force me into a dead end? Li Fan pretended to be afraid and asked, Ha ha ha, it's too late to be afraid now. Lord Patriarch has ordered that if he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. This time, I'll definitely capture you. Do you really want to fight? Li Fan asked again. Ha ha, did you guys hear what this trash said? Murong Feather and the surrounding thugs laughed together, as if Li Fan was saying a funny joke. This trash actually wants to fight with us. This is too funny, really too funny. All right, then I'll fight you. Li Fan sighed. He was advising with good intentions, but the other party did not appreciate it. Don't stay in the car. Get out and let me kill you. As Murong Yu spoke, he extended his hand and grabbed onto the car door, forcefully ripping it off. This car is quite expensive. You better remember to pay for it. While Li Fan was speaking, Murong Feather reached out with both hands and pulled him out. But when Murong Feather saw Li Fan's right arm, he was instantly stunned. The arrogance on his face earlier turned into fear at this moment. Your right hand? Sorry, it's recovered. As Li Fan said, his true energy erupted and pushed Murong Feather 2 steps back. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and attack. Murong Feather roared at the thugs beside him. Little Tyrant had recovered his right arm. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? No, my life is the most important. I'm a member of Murong family. How can I die in a place like this? Absolutely not. Murong Feather ordered his underlings to surround and beat up Li Fan. A dozen or so of Murong family's thugs immediately pounced forward. Every single one of them pulled out a sword from their waist and held it in their hands. Murong Villa's thugs usually used swords. Every single one of their treasured swords were forged from steel, and there were carvings of Murong family on them. Every single one of them was a treasured sword, and they were all pointed at Li Fan, preparing to chop Li Fan into mincemeat. However, Li Fan stretched out his right hand. Although the strength of this arm was not strong enough, the control of true energy far surpassed his left hand. All of the treasured swords suddenly broke away from the control of Murong Villa's thugs and flew into the air. Those thugs were all shocked. Li Fan raised his right hand and controlled these treasured swords. A total of 12 treasured swords, including Murong Feather's treasured sword, flew up and floated beside Li Fan. Li Fan's right hand was completely wrapped in true energy. This true energy formed a golden arm armor, covering Li Fan's right hand. Murong Feather was shocked when he saw this. At this time, a loyal Murong thug turned the front of the truck and suddenly passed through the tunnel, directly rolling towards Li Fan. Li Fan coldly snorted and took a step forward. His left hand emitted a white mist. His left hand turned into a palm, and under the effect of Li Fan's alien bone-changing power, his left arm also began to transform. Black scales seemed to grow out. Li Fan's left hand was like a real Qilin's claw as it smashed into the truck that was rushing over. Qilin palm. Bang! Under the combined effect of ice and fire, the front of the truck directly sank in, and then the entire truck began to disintegrate. After being hit by Li Fan's Qilin palm, the heat and cold together caused all objects to collapse. Murong family's people were so scared that they peed their pants. At this time, they did not care about whether they were loyal or not. Saving their lives was more important. Murong Feather had already set a very good example. He took the lead and ran outside, and with a wave of Li Fan's right hand, 12 swords immediately flew out and inserted themselves into the tunnel entrance, sealing the path of those people. Since you're here, let's have some fun. Li Fan pointed at Murong Feather. Didn't you want to fight with me? Why are you running? Li Fan, don't go too far. Murong Feather pulled out a sword from the ground and threw it at Li Fan. A sword chi instantly traveled along the ground and shot towards Li Fan. Li Fan extended his right hand and released his true chi. It looked like he was using his palm to block Murong Feather's sword chi, easily dispelling his attack. You said you're here to fight, but you only have this little strength? Li Fan sighed. This is not fun, young man. You're cheating? Murong Feather was about to pee. How did he recover his arm? This is not scientific. It's because you're too weak. Li Fan raised his right hand again and condensed his true chi. Chapter 772. Li Fan's right hand moved forward, and a palm wind instantly spread in the tunnel, hitting those thugs and knocking them down to the ground. At the same time, Li Fan's right hand pulled Murong Feather's body to the front, and then with a crane point, he froze there, making him unable to move. I won't kill you today. Li Fan still had the aura of a king. Go back and tell your Murong Bo that I, Li Fan, am back, and tell him to be prepared. Li Fan, don't be too arrogant. Murong Feather's body trembled a little, but he could not put down his face, and still said ruthless words. My master can break your arm once, and he can break it again. He's a great master of his generation. You're courting death by going against him. A great master of his generation is nothing. Even if the undead evil Buddha comes, I will still beat him up. Li Fan was telling the truth, but Murong Feather seemed to be a little unconvinced. Li Fan, don't brag there. Our Murong family has the strength. Why would we be afraid of you? You're just bluffing now. Do you dare to do anything to me? Li Fan did not speak. He grabbed Murong Feather's head with his left hand and waved his right hand to the right. It was as if an invisible hand had grabbed Murong Feather's left arm, and this arm was directly torn off. Blood spilled out. Murong Feather wept bitterly and wailed again and again. He was thrown to the ground by Li Fan, twitching and cursing at Li Fan. Li Fan, you dare to break my arm? Murong family will never let you go. I and Murong family have been enemies for a long time. Li Fan said calmly. No matter what method he uses, I will take it on. Let him come. After saying that, Li Fan looked at the Land Rover that had a door torn off and sighed. Sigh. Such a good car has been damaged by you. Let's take their car. Lu Zhu had already boarded their Toyota and started the car. This car is pretty good too. All right. Li Fan sat in the car, while Murong Feather was helped up by a thug. He sat in the tunnel and roared at Li Fan. Li Fan, Murong's family will not forgive you. He kept on roaring, as if he wanted to vent his anger by shouting, Come here often. Li Fan rolled down the window and gave Murong Feather a smile. As Murong Feather watched the Toyota drive away, he suddenly roared at his men. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and send me to the hospital. A group of thugs hurriedly sent him away. Murong Feather shouted again, Bastard. Take my arm with you. Tell me, maybe it can be reconnected. No, young master. It fell into the sewer. Find it for me? Yes. A group of people began to search in a flurry, and Murong Feather's cries could be heard from the tunnel. At this time, Li Fan had already followed Lu Zhu to the airport. Are you really going back to a city? Lu Zhu was still a little worried about Li Fan. Murong Bo's home is in the suburbs of a city. Won't it be too dangerous for you to go back? Whether it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I have to go. Li Fan stretched. As the saying goes, lice don't itch when there are too many of them. I'm already used to it. You should be more careful. In my opinion, you should find a place to cultivate for a period of time and train your strength. That's true, but it's still very dangerous. If I'm afraid of this little bit of danger, I'll find a cave to live in. Li Fan laughed. The more dangerous it is, the happier I am. Fighting can make me stronger. Why are you like a fighting maniac? When your martial arts cultivation reaches a certain level, you will also look forward to every battle. Li Fan set his own level. I can't feel it. Lu Zhu shrugged. Actually, I don't like to practice martial arts. It's really boring, not interesting at all. That's because you don't feel the fun. Li Fan smiled. One day, you will feel it. I hope that day comes soon. Lu Zhu curled his lips. Then I'll send you here. I originally wanted to find a place to hide you, but I didn't expect you to choose a dangerous place. He thought for a moment and winked at Li Fan. Why don't you come to solipsism? In any case, you have already fallen out with Murong's villa. Isn't solipsism better? Forget it. What kind of place is solipsism? How can I go there? Li Fan rolled his eyes. You should also get out of there as soon as possible. The Devil's Sect is not a good place. You can't persuade me, and I can't persuade you either. Lu Zhu sighed. You have also seen what the righteous path of Jianghu is like. There are good and bad everywhere. I am in the demonic path and have a younger brother like you. As for me in the righteous path, I have a few good friends. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. I'll send you here. Lu Zhu was unable to persuade Li Fan and could only give up. The future is long. Let's meet again in the future. Not knowing if he will continue to study in private number 2 high school, Li Fan waved goodbye to him. After Lu Zhu left, Li Fan said a few words to the side. Come out. Why don't you sit in the same car as us? It would be better to protect you in secret. Chen Junhua carried a great sword on his back and walked out from the corner. There are also some small fries who wanted to find trouble with you. I have already helped you get rid of them. Many thanks. This trip has been hard on you. Li Fan sighed with emotion. Indeed, a friend in need is a friend indeed. When I was in the limelight, those who came to make friends with me have all disappeared. I wonder how Dong Yi is doing. Recently, I have not contacted him. When I was still in good condition, Dong Yi was willing to join hands with me. Now that I am in bad condition, if Dong Yi is a smart person, he will probably withdraw his investment. Li Fan accompanied Chen Junhua and checked their weapons before boarding the plane. Why is it economy class? After squeezing into the seat, Chen Junhua could not help but ask, Fuck, how can I afford to fly first class with my little money? Li Fan rolled his eyes. Do you always fly first class when you go out? Yeah. Huashan sect also has a lot of financial groups. Chen Junhua nodded. I can just accept a few rich businessmen as my disciples. At the very least, I should be in business class. You can run after the plane? With my Qinggong, I can't catch up with the plane. Chen Junhua said seriously. Brother Li, can you? I can catch up with the rocket. Brother Li is so powerful. I have to learn more from Brother Li. Fuck. Looking at Chen Junhua's serious face, Li Fan could not help but think of Guan Wenbao. These two smothering cannons were a pair. No, I can't think like that. Kuchunza will go crazy. Thinking of this brother, Li Fan smiled again. I must find an opportunity to pull him into phenomenal escort agency. Chapter 773. In this season, City A had already started to get a little cold. The people of City A all like to say one sentence. There was no autumn in City A at all. Basically, after summer, winter was almost here. The cold wind, coupled with the river wind of Songjiang, was bone-chilling. Many people put on winter clothes. When the plane landed, many people were still wearing half-sleeves. Once they got off the plane, all of them were so cold that their lips turned purple and their whole body shivered. Only Li Fan and Chen Junhua were exceptions. The two of them only wore simple unlined clothes and walked down from the plane. Damn, big brother, aren't you cold? A strong man hugged his arms and asked Li Fan while shivering. Damn, my mink fur is in the checkbox. I'm freezing to death. This big brother didn't know whether he was complaining or showing off. Fortunately, my Land Rover is outside. By the way, do you want to take a car? I'm a part-time driver. Li Fan and Chen Junhua had black lines on their foreheads. So this guy was driving a special car. No, thank you for your kindness. Li Fan thanked this big brother and pulled Chen Junhua out. But as soon as they got out of the airport, they were blocked by a row of cars outside. Li Fan, right? A serious-looking man in a suit walked over, took out an ID from his arms, and showed it to Li Fan. National Security Agency? Zhoutai? Li Fan was a little surprised. Why was the National Security Agency looking for him? Please get in the car. The other party confirmed Li Fan's identity and then opened the door of a Accord next to him. What's the matter? Li Fan frowned. Please cooperate with our work. The other party's words were somewhat forceful. Okay, then Junhua, you go back to Fifan Escort Agency first. I'll accompany them. Li Fan gave Chen Junhua a look. Chen Junhua immediately stretched out his hand, and the big sword behind him was directly unsheathed. It fell in front of him and stabbed into the ground. The people of the National Security Agency were nervous and pulled out their pistols from behind. Li Fan was very embarrassed. "What are you doing? Didn't you give me a look just now to tell me to make a move?" Li Fan was speechless. "I want you to go back first and help me inform my family." "Oh." Chen Junhua put away the sword again. "Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding." Li Fan hurriedly explained to the people from the National Security Agency that they had no intention of putting away their guns. The person called Zhou Tai who spoke to Li Fan before seemed to have some status. "Put them away. It's fine." After Zhou Tai gave the order, those people put away their pistols. Many people were looking at them, wondering what had happened. "Sorry, let's go." Li Fan followed Zhou Tai into the Black Accord, while Chen Junhua silently left with his great sword on his back. Li Fan sat in the car and looked at Zhou Tai, who had a poker face. "Do you have anything to say?" "We haven't arrived yet." Zhou Tai was very calm. "I'll talk to you more when we get there." The Accord slowly moved. In front of it was a truck. When the Accord drove past, the two vehicles just happened to enter a tunnel. The rear compartment of the truck opened, and the Accord drove in. They kept moving. Li Fan was very familiar with this move, as they had used it during robberies. He didn't expect that other than himself, the people from the government also liked to play this game. "Well, it's safe here. All external signals have been blocked." Zhou Tai said, "We can talk now." "Why? You're from the government. Why are you so cautious? You think the government can be lawless?" Zhou Tai smiled. "This country is too big, and the internal struggles are very fierce. Take the Special Abilities Bureau, for example. How did such a big government organization fall? You haven't forgotten, right?" Li Fan was silent for a moment. How could he forget this matter? He looked at Zhou Tai and waited for him to continue. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "I'm waiting to hear what you're going to say." "Li Fan, you're in a very dangerous situation now. Do you know that?" Zhou Tai pushed his glasses. This habit reminded Li Fan of Bai Lin Luo. "I'm surrounded by enemies. I'm already used to it. You think it's a matter of the underworld?" Zhou Tai sneered. "Although it's related to the underworld, it's not entirely the case. Li Fan, the government has set their eyes on you. You're now a dangerous person." "What do you mean?" "Just continue. Your power is beyond the government's control. The embroidered uniform guards have already tried to assassinate you in the dark, but they all failed." "So you're going to arrest me?" Li Fan asked. "That depends on whether you cooperate or not." "What if I cooperate? What if I don't?" "If you cooperate, then we can cooperate. If you don't, then you'll end up as a prisoner." Zhou Tai's words made Li Fan a little uncomfortable. Zhou Tai seemed to have seen through Li Fan's thoughts and continued. "Li Fan, I'm not threatening you. I'm afraid you've already taken no less than 1, or even 10 lives, right? A life for a life. That's the law. You've broken the law. Shouldn't I arrest you?" "You should." Li Fan was silent for a moment and said, "But if you want to arrest me, you'll have to rely on your ability. We know that you found a small island in the South Sea." Zhou Tai continued, "We can sell you the ownership of that small island." Zhou Tai's words poked Li Fan's heart. Moreover, Extraordinary Escort Agency doesn't have a legal business license. All your business now is illegal income. If you're willing to cooperate, then everything will be fine. The business license and the ownership of the small island can be given to you. Such a big temptation. What exactly do you want to cooperate with me for?" Li Fan finally couldn't hold it in anymore. The other party was giving him too much authority. The Embroidered Uniform Guard has already become a completely black organization that has been used by certain people. Zhou Tai threw out his bargaining chip and continued, including the sweepers, the organization managed by Long Qingyun. "I know very well what they're doing behind the scenes. I want to do something, but I don't have a good hand." "I'm your good hand? Don't you know how many enemies I have behind me? The forces of the martial world are nothing to be afraid of." Zhou Tai chuckled. Without the support of the government, they're just wild people after all. Including Morong's family, they also have the support of the government. Otherwise, How could they become the supreme masters of the martial world? Sure enough, Li Fan looked at Zhou Tai and didn't rush to agree. Instead, he asked, "On what basis can you offer these conditions?" "Indeed, I can't." Zhou Tai nodded, "But the people behind me can." Chapter 774. Zhou Tai had someone backing him and wanted to support Li Fan. To Li Fan, this matter was both good and bad. Fortunately, Li Fan could obtain the support of the government. Zhou Tai was right. In the pugilistic world, without the support of the government, it would be difficult to develop. The reason why the Murong clan was able to develop so well was because they had received a series of official support, which was why they were able to get to where they were today. But if he agreed, then he would become a puppet of the government. To be honest, when the gods above are fighting, a mortal like me doesn't really want to get involved. I didn't drag you in to fight with them. Zhou Tai said as he turned on a monitor in front of him. A glass vessel appeared on it, and inside it was a familiar naked man. When Li Fan saw this person, he was shocked. "Isn't this the guy I killed on a certain island? I remember that I smashed him to pieces." "Yes, but his body automatically repaired itself." Zhou Tai pointed at this person and said to Li Fan, "He is called the Creator, the leader of the Golden Empire." "Ah?" Li Fan was shocked. Unknowingly, Mr. Yang was sitting next to Zhou Tai again and said with a smile, "He is a very powerful person. You have already met him twice." "Twice?" Li Fan was a little surprised. Meeting his body once was the first time. When was the second time? This person's fleshly body is in a state of immortality and indestructibility. Even though his soul has died, his body is still preserved. In his body, there is a very special biological energy. It can be said that it is a kind of spiritual energy. Zhou Tai explained, "By chance, when you entered that island, you found his body. Then, we captured his body and placed it in the laboratory to conduct experiments." Li Fan frowned. "Using the Creator's body to conduct experiments? I'm afraid this is not a righteous act. If we can research something useful, it can indeed benefit mankind." Zhou Tai did not refute, but if it is used improperly, it can also create a terrifying killing weapon. "So, do you think I will support you?" "I'm not asking for your support. I'm asking for a conditional exchange." Zhou Tai said, "Moreover, this thing is a hot potato. With it in our hands, it will attract the covetous eyes of other countries. We support you in the hope that your strength can be used by us. In the future, it can help us protect it." "Protection? You wouldn't hide this thing in a city, would you?" "Of course." Zhou Tai smiled. "We will place it on your little island. That way it will be foolproof." "Oh yes, to be precise, it's still our island." "Coercion and bribery. Chief Zhou? This concerns the interests of the entire country." Zhou Tai said, "We've been silent for too long, haven't we? How shall I answer you? Just tell me directly, are you doing it or not?" "All right, I'll do it." Li Fan's thoughts were very simple. After all, it was because of him that the body of the Creator had reappeared in the human world. If it was not controlled by their own country, it would be snatched away by other countries. They might as well let their own country take advantage of it. "All right, straightforward, as expected of the little tyrant." Zhou Tai nodded. "Actually, the higher-ups didn't take a fancy to you in the beginning. They took a fancy to someone else. I was the one who pushed you out." "Someone else? Who is it?" "Jiang Feng," Zhou Tai said. "During the battle at Murong Villa, you defeated Jiang Feng, and Murong Bo chased him out. Now he's out in the pugilistic world, but he has a good reputation and has made many friends. Many people are willing to help him." This guy actually went solo." Li Fan smiled. "I reckon there will be plenty of friction in the future. With our support, your development will definitely be better than his." Zhou Tai said as he took out a contract. "What contract is this?" "A contract to escort X." Zhou Tai explained. This X was the body of the Creator. Because Li Fan ran an escort agency, in order to express the sincerity of both sides, Zhou Tai was willing to give this opportunity to Li Fan in the form of escorting an escort. To escort X to Li Fan's Li Family Island It had to be transported by sea. If it was transported by plane, it would be too big of a target and would be easily discovered. We just need to send it to Bayfish Circle. A map appeared on Zhou Tai's screen. He pointed at the city of Bayfish Circle in the northeast. Bayfish Circle was a quiet coastal city. In the past 2 years, it had suddenly started to develop and focus on tourism. Disregarding everything else, the housing prices had already started to rise. However, the climate and environment there were not bad, suitable for retirement. It's not convenient for the government to mobilize a large number of people. This will attract the attention of the enemy. Zhou Tai tapped on the contract. So, we can only rely on you. Sure. Such an expensive escort can't be short of money, right? Li Fan was a famous profiteer. He hurriedly asked about the payment. 3 million, Zhou Tai said. Zhou Tai said, I'll send it into your account in 3 installments. They'll be the deposit, the money to Bayfish Circle, and the remaining balance after the matter is completed. Zhou Tai repeatedly reminded, remember Li Fan, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for both you and me. Zhou Tai was also an ambitious person. He supported Li Fan for his own sake. If Li Fan did well, then he would have a meteoric rise because of this relationship, stepping into the center of power in the organization. He was different from other people. In the organization, many people who could rise to the top were the descendants of officials. As for Zhou Tai, he was an ordinary white-collar worker. After taking the civil service exam, he climbed step by step to his current position. However, he was only a deputy division-level official. Many times, to an ordinary person, being able to reach the deputy division level was already considered the peak. Above the deputy division level, there was still the division level, deputy bureau level, deputy department level, deputy minister level, and finally the deputy national level, the divine altar of the nation level. Zhou Tai did not want to be a deputy division level for the rest of his life. He wanted to continuously climb up and stand in the center of power. Forcefully pushing Li Fan was also a precious opportunity for him. No matter what, I must complete this mission. Even if I have to sacrifice some of your people, I won't hesitate. I will complete the mission, but not a single one of my people can be missing. Li Fan was not someone who would trade his brothers for merits. He looked at the Bayfish Circle and could not help but ask, but even if I can successfully transport it here, what should I do when I reach the sea? You'll naturally know when we get there. Zhou Tai kept him in suspense. All right, go back to school in peace. With us around, Murongbo will not dare to touch you. Chapter 775. Wang Chong had been very happy recently. Li Fan wasn't around, so he had once again become the boss in school. These days were too blissful. He didn't want to be too happy. Wang Chong was looking forward to the entire 3rd year. Li Fan didn't need to appear anymore, so that he could happily spend his 3rd year in school. In the future, when he went to university, they definitely wouldn't be able to bump into each other. Recently, Wang Chong had also been a bit arrogant. After all, Li Fan wasn't around, and Hua Dehong had also transferred schools. There was no one to suppress him in school. Wang Chong found 2 friends and blocked a boy on the field, directly punching and kicking him. Do you know why I hit you? No, I don't know. If you don't know, then I'll beat you until you know. Wang Chong waved his hand, and the 2 students beside him immediately knocked down the thin boy. Wang Chong went up and kicked him fiercely. The thin boy wailed as he was kicked. His school uniform was covered in footprints, and his face was covered in blood. He desperately begged for mercy, wanting Wang Chong to let him go. Then tell me, what did you do wrong? Wang Chong tidied up his clothes and looked at the battered and weak man in front of him. I really don't know, the boy cried pitifully. He really didn't want to be beaten anymore. Because you got close to the woman I like. Wang Chong chuckled. So you have to get beaten up? Brother Chong, I really didn't get close to the woman you like. Nonsense, Zhang Xiaofei. She's the woman I like. She's my neighbor. I don't care. Wang Chong scolded. Today, I'll teach you a lesson and tell you who has the final say in this school. No, isn't it little tyrant Li Fan who has the final say? What, little tyrant Li Fan? He just ran away. If he didn't run away, I would have taught him a lesson. Before he could finish speaking, his butt was suddenly kicked by someone. Then he fell forward and fell flat on his face. Who? Who the fuck doesn't want his life anymore, daring to kick me? Wang Chang got up and angrily looked back. He, who was about to flare up, suddenly became terrified. This fellow was none other than the little tyrant, Li Fan, who had disappeared for a long time. Today, Li Fan was still wearing an ordinary school uniform. He stood there with his hands in his pockets. Ah, isn't this brotherly? Wang Chang immediately put on a smiling face and smiled apologetically. When did you come back? Why didn't you tell me so that I could pick you up? How would I dare to trouble you, young Master Wang? Li Fan chuckled. You're the tyrant of our number 2 private high school. I can't afford to trouble you with such an honorable visit. What are you talking about? As long as you need me, I will be there in minutes. That's a nice way to put it. Li Fan still had a smile on his face. But just now, you said that after I return, you will make me pay. I'm back now. Let me take a look. I owe you. You heard wrong. I was saying, who is the little tyrant? If you come back, I will immediately treat you to a feast. Yes, let's have a feast. Fuck off. I'm not in school. And you're bullying me again? Just as Li Fan finished speaking, the thin boy immediately found a backer, crawled up, ran behind him, and hid. Speaking of which, Wang Chang, do you really like to steal other people's women? Li Fan asked. How about I give all the girls in the school to you? How? How would I dare? Wang Chang did not dare to say a word. Although he did think so, how many of them were Li Fan's women? He did not dare to have any thoughts. Then stop it for me, if I catch you acting like a tyrant again. As Li Fan said this, he punched the cement wall beside him. A deep fist mark immediately appeared on the cement wall, scaring Wang Chang so much that he almost peed his pants. I won't dare. I won't dare anymore. From today onwards, I will study hard and be a good person. Scram! Li Fan berated him. Wang Chang brought his 2 classmates and ran away dejectedly. Brother, thank you so much. The boy pulled Li Fan's arm and cried bitterly. You must not leave. Otherwise Wang Chang will definitely come and hit me again. Don't worry. He doesn't have the guts. Li Fan could not help but sigh. Without him in the private second high school, it seemed that it would not be good. However, it was impossible for him to live here for the rest of his life. After a year, he would graduate. At that time, what would happen to the private second high school? However, that was not something he should think about. He had enough things to worry about. Li Fan sighed and continued to walk towards the school building. Liao Wushuang was still a teacher here. At this moment, in this school, the only person he could trust was her. Student Li Fan? Just as Li Fan entered the corridor, he bumped into Chung Mohan, who was heading to the academic affairs office. This sexy and enchanting chick was actually still in school. She was wearing a school uniform, but it could not hide the beauty of her figure. Chung Mohan held a stack of exam papers and looked at Li Fan with a kind smile on her mouth. Oh, you haven't left yet? The mission given to me by the genie guards is to kill you. I think there are more opportunities in school, so I stayed. Chung Mohan smiled very happily. This woman is also the best. Accept her. Mr. Yang stood next to Chung Mohan. He reached out his hand and touched her buttocks. Then he smiled evilly at Li Fan. Chung Mohan suddenly frowned and looked at Li Fan. I didn't expect your heart demon to be so heavy. How did you see it? I could tell by looking at your eyes. Chung Mohan said and passed by Li Fan. Li Fan's heart sank. What did Chung Mohan see? Could she see my heart demon? That's impossible. The heart demon only exists in my heart. That's why it appeared in my eyes. When Li Fan wanted to ask what was going on, he turned around and Chung Mohan had already disappeared. This woman, Li Fan, gritted his teeth. Why are so many of my enemies are girls? Li Fan, you're back? He turned the corner and bumped into Liao Wushuang again. This woman was wearing a teacher's uniform. Her skirt wrapped tightly around her beautiful thighs, which was eye-catching. Almost all the boys who passed by couldn't help but stick their eyes on Liao Wushuang's legs. Liao Wushuang grabbed Li Fan, pulled him to a corner, and then threw herself into his arms. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. This woman sometimes is really enthusiastic. She looks like a strong woman, but in fact, her heart is completely a little girl. Li Fan reached out and touched her hair. Scoundrel, I thought you died outside. How can that be? You and I have the 7 emotions and 6 desires harmony goo. If I die, you'll be the first to know. If I die because of the goo, Liao Wushuang won't live. Chapter 776. Li Fan spent some time with Liao Wushuang and then returned to class with the sound of the bell. As expected, the number of pretty girls in the class had decreased significantly. Only Lin Yuchen was looking at him excitedly. Since there were too many people in the class, she couldn't just throw herself at Li Fan and give him a hug. Jin Jiuma and Ling Yu weren't around. Ling Yu had probably returned to her league, just like Jin Jiuma. Murong loved this girl so much that she wasn't in second high anymore. She had already finished her university studies, so her family wouldn't allow her to stay by her side anymore. Senior sister Xia Yin was busy with Primo Escort Agency's affairs. The agency was currently in a difficult stage and needed help from many people. To Li Fan's surprise, Dong Yi didn't take the opportunity to leave Primo Escort Agency. Instead, he sent Big Dipper and Flying Dragon to City A from the provincial capital to help the escort agency in City A with the escorts. Guan Wenbao and Yin Kai were people who had gone through thick and thin with Li Fan, so they definitely wouldn't leave. However, because of Murong's Weibo, Primo Escort Agency's business wasn't doing well. Li Fan and the others were still trying to earn some extra money. Li Fan sat beside Lin Yuhn and took out his long-lost textbook. He couldn't understand the content in it. He had been away from school for too long, and he wasn't a genius. It was impossible for him to understand everything in a textbook. It's fine. I'll help you with your homework. Lin Yuhn seemed to have read Li Fan's mind. She became exceptionally gentle and treated Li Fan very well. It was as if she was afraid that Li Fan would sneak away after being separated for so long. Everyone in the underworld knew that Li Fan had lost an arm. Lin Yuhn must have heard about it from Guan Wenbao and Yin Kai. She peeked at Li Fan's right hand and heaved a sigh of relief. What's wrong? Are you afraid that I'll break your hand? Li Fan was still laughing and joking with Lin Yuhn, which made Lin Yuhn so angry that she slapped Li Fan's shoulder. Humph! I wish you were disabled. Sure enough, he couldn't stay cool for more than 3 seconds. Li Fan said that Lin Yuchen's gentleness would not last more than 3 seconds. You are really asking for a beating. Lin Yuchen realized that she had accidentally lost her temper again and couldn't help but pout. Lin Yuchen was about to scold Li Fan again when the teacher came in with a textbook. When he saw Li Fan, he even gave Li Fan a smile. Student Li Fan, you've missed quite a few classes. You have to catch up. Thank you for your concern, teacher. Many students couldn't help but look at Li Fan. Only Li Fan could enjoy such treatment. When other students learned good or bad, the teacher would at most give them a few words of advice and wouldn't be so concerned. Li Fan just sat in class and listened to the heavenly book for an entire class. Damn it, what the hell is he talking about? It's been a long time since I've been here. I don't even understand geometry anymore. Li Fan looked at the questions written on the blackboard by the teacher and felt dizzy. What's wrong? Are you feeling depressed because you haven't studied for a long time? Lin Yuchen asked. No, I'm just sighing. If only I had a pen that could answer questions automatically. Li Fan was filled with emotions. Your sister. How can there be something so convenient? Lin Yuchen rolled her eyes. If you roll your eyes again, your big watery eyes will fly out. Li Fan secretly teased Lin Yuchen. Lin Yuchen was so angry that she wanted to roll her eyes, but didn't dare to. Li Fan picked up the pen and tried to calculate the geometry on the paper. However, he really couldn't understand it. There were many formulas that he hadn't learned before. However, Lin Yuchen became patient again. She kept telling Li Fan how to solve the questions, including some commonly used formulas, and taught them to Li Fan. Moreover, Lin Yuchen even researched a few universal formulas and taught them to Li Fan. This kind of learning ability, other than Lin Yuchen, no one else could do it. Having a high IQ is really different. Li Fan couldn't help but feel a little envious. At this time, Chung Mohan was sitting at the side. She didn't say anything and kept looking at Li Fan. Other people might not be able to see it, but Chung Mohan's cultivation of little phaseless magic had reached a certain level. This little phaseless magic not only had exquisite control over Qi, but it could also sense the unique changes in Qi. Chung Mohan could see the severity of Li Fan's heart demon through his Qi. At this time, Li Fan's entire body was emitting black Qi. Only his eyebrows still had a bit of golden light. As long as he had the opportunity, he would transform into a demon. In Jianghu, there were two types of martial arts. One was the orthodox sex mental cultivation method. It required time to polish and accumulate. The other was the demonic technique. This type of martial art could grow very quickly. It was almost instantaneous, but it would disturb the mind of the cultivator. Without a doubt, Li Fan had already cultivated this kind of evil demonic technique. It was said that Lu Jinshan's first cultivation technique was a demonic art. He felt the evil in his own cultivation technique, and in the end, he reversed his own martial arts and turned it into a righteous supreme art called the Nine Buddha Sutra. But Li Fan seemed to be a little different. His martial art was both good and evil. No one knew what kind of technique it was. However, it was unknown what had happened to Commander Wang Zun recently. Li Fan was clearly still on the blacklist, but he had appeared to save Li Fan the last time. Now, the relationship between the genie guards and Murong Villa was even more tense. If not for the fact that both sides had the support of the government, they would have already torn each other apart. Actually, we have almost finished the course. Next, we will enter the revision stage. The teacher stood on the stage and finished explaining the day's questions. He said, "Students, you have to work hard. Put away your playful thoughts. Put away your playful thoughts. The college entrance examination is the most important stage of your life. Thousands of soldiers and horses are fighting to cross a single wooden bridge. Whether or not you can change your future depends on this time." There was still half a year left, but the teacher was already busy preparing for the war. In an era of peace, the college entrance examination was a battlefield for these students. The teacher stood on the podium and said loudly, "The college entrance examination is fair to every student. As long as you study hard and do well, you can have a meteoric rise. Be tight now. When you enter university, you will be free." The group of students became evil. Li Fan sat there with his body straight. He couldn't help but think of what Zhou Tai had told him before he left. "Li Fan." Zhou Tai patted his arm and said to Li Fan enthusiastically, "Work hard. It doesn't matter if you delay your studies." Although Peking University and Tsinghua University are not easy to arrange, other than these two, you can choose any of the 211 universities. Although that was what he said, Li Fan still wanted to rely on himself. Looking at the group of students preparing to fight for university, Li Fan was filled with emotions. But he was busy dealing with a group of enemies hidden in the dark. Sometimes, ignorance was a kind of happiness. Chapter 777. How come you can't even understand this question? How are you listening in class? During the tutoring session, Lin Yuhn found out that Li Fan did a wrong question and couldn't help but scold him. "I didn't listen in this class either." Li Fan expressed his innocence. "Humph, you still have the nerve to say that. You're a student, skipping class every day and going out to fool around." "Please, I'm not going out to fool around. I'm working hard for my career," Li Fan hurriedly explained. "Others don't understand me. But you, Lin, do you think you don't understand me? It's because I understand you too well that I'm angry at you." Lin Yin angrily looked at Li Fan. "You should be a good student now. After all, you're only in high school. When you're admitted to university, naturally you could do whatever you want. Why are you like a teacher? You even like to preach." "Humph, humph, because you need to be preached. You're already a grown-up, yet you still need others to lecture you." "No choice. I'm also forced by the situation." Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. "Now there are a lot of things to do every day. I almost forgot that I'm a student. Sayu. Lin Yushin also couldn't do anything to Li Fan. In any case, let me be responsible for tutoring you in school. Lin Yushin felt that she could only help Li Fan this much. As for the company's matters, Lin Yuhsin could only help Li Fan manage the accounts. She couldn't interfere in other matters. As for the company's plans and strategies, they were all operated by Ling Tian. Ling Tian was extremely experienced in this aspect, and this was something that could not be faulted. Bai Lin Luo also went to Li Family Island to help, and it was said that his development there was not bad. Lin Yushin only hoped that she could help Li Fan a little. Otherwise, it would seem that she was too incompetent. Li Fan continued to look at the test questions in his hands and frowned slightly. Although the formulas taught by Lin Yuhsin could solve a lot of problems, it was not enough. However, he had fallen behind in too many subjects, and it was indeed a little strenuous for him to learn. Speaking of which, between me and teacher Liao, who is better at tutoring? Huh? Li Fan was stunned. Why are you asking this again? You didn't give me an answer last time. Lin Yushin seemed very curious about this question. Can you tell me this time? Why are you so curious? Little girls shouldn't be too curious, or you'll be despised. You mean you despise me? Lin Yushin pouted and looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. That's not it. I just feel that someone is smart, as you shouldn't be asking such a question. No matter how smart a woman is, there will be things that she's curious about, right? Lin Yushin looked at Li Fan and said very seriously, have you forgotten that I've told you that your existence has always been beyond my scope of calculation? Aha! Then I'm very honored. Go to hell. Lin Yushin was quite dissatisfied. Li Fan's attitude made her angry. She was very curious about which woman in Li Fan's heart could walk into it. Lin Yushin really wanted to become like Zi Xiaofei and fly into Li Fan's heart to ask who was in it. However, reality was not a myth. Lin Yushin could only sigh. Forget it. Let's do the questions. Lin Yuhsin was also too lazy to bother about these things. If she could do it, she would definitely try her best. But if she couldn't do it, she also couldn't use her strength. I have to go out in 2 days. It'll be about a week. Can you help me sort out the content of this week's lessons? I'll look at it together when I come back. You pighead? What new lessons? It's all about revision now. Lin Yuhin rolled her eyes. Can't you listen carefully to the teacher's content? All right, it's my fault. Li Fan had too many things to think about every day. Even during class, it was impossible for him to pay full attention to the teacher's content. Fortunately, he had the help of 2 external helpers, Liao Wushuang and Lin Yuich. Both of them could give him supplementary lessons. Since he didn't want to rely on Zhou Tai's help, he had to study hard on his own. Li Fan decided that after returning from this mission, he would properly revise the 3 years of high school curriculum. With Lin Yuichisan's help, he should be able to get a good result. But now he had other things to consider. Li Fan couldn't help but think of his contract with Zhou Tai. Who should he find to escort this escort? He definitely had to go personally for such an important escort. As for the rest, Guan Wenbao and Yin Kai, he'd bring them along. Between Big Dipper and Flying Dragon, one of them had to help oversee the escort agency. Big Dipper was older, more experienced, and had a steady temperament. It shouldn't be a problem for him to oversee the rear. As for Chun Junhua, since he was here to train, he'd bring him along too. Shouldn't he use such a good opportunity to train him? Forget about little senior sister Xia Yi. She wasn't mature enough yet, and Yin Xiaoru could bring him along. He could bring Yin Xiaoru along. Her skills as a master thief might come in handy. As for the others, they weren't needed for the time being. Li Fan? Li Fan? Lin Yin's voice suddenly rang in his ears, sounding distant, yet close at the same time. Li Fan. Li Fan snapped out of his daze and saw Lin Yin glaring at him. What's wrong? What are you thinking about? I'm explaining a problem to you. Lin Yin puffed up her cheeks and looked at Li Fan in annoyance. Oh, my bad. Li Fan sighed. He was indeed a little distracted right now. Forget it. You should focus on your work. Lin Yin glared at him helplessly. Tell me if you have any problems at work. Lin Yin adjusted her collar and asked. Yes, there's a mission recently. Li Fan didn't treat Lin Yushin as an outsider, so he told her about the mission. Lin Yushin thought for a moment and gave a suitable plan. Split up, Lin Yushin said. One team will take the open road and attract attention, while the other team will sneak in and take the undiscovered path. That's a safe method. Li Fan nodded. Who will the open road and who will the dark road? Open road you go. Bring Guan Wenbao and Yin Kai, Lin Yushin said without hesitation. Dark road will send Fei Long and Qin Junhua to escort it. You don't want me to escort the dark road? Of course not. Your existence is the best bait, Lin Yushin said frankly. You're in charge of attracting everyone's attention, making them think that the dart is with you. As the saying goes, if you don't give them a big bait, how will they fall for our trick obediently? That sounds reasonable. Li Fan couldn't help but nod. Then let's do it according to your plan. I believe in you. Yes, everything will be fine as long as it reaches the Spanish equinox. What do you think Zhou Tai and the rest have arranged in the Spanish equinox? How simple, a nuclear submarine? Well, as long as we encounter the Spanish mackerel, everything will be fine. What do you think Zhou Tai and the rest have arranged in the Spanish equinox? How simple, a nuclear submarine? Chapter 778. Lin Yushin had always been a prophet, so Li Fan believed in her deduction. However, before that, Li Fan still had a difficult problem to deal with. The capital chain of Primeval Escort Agency was broken, although Lu Xinan had given them a lot of money, and Zhou Tai had also received a deposit. However, the scale of Primeval Escort Agency was too big. This amount of money was not enough to maintain the entire agency's operations. Li Fan did not want to ask Lu Xinan for help. He had to think of a way to solve his current problem. Boss, it's that bank. The Devil's Incarnation invited Li Fan to a Malatang shop for a meal. He then pointed to a foreign bank across the street. I've sent someone to investigate this bank. It's a private bank in Japan. It's filled with money from corrupt officials and businessmen. The Devil's Incarnation lowered his voice. Boss, we've been having a hard time with cash flow recently. Let's do it. Tofu Wong, do you know that robbing a bank is illegal? Li Fan asked calmly. Yeah, robbing a bank is obviously illegal, but robbing a Japanese bank is helping the people and upholding justice, the Devil's Incarnation said with a straight face. Li Fan glared at the Devil's Incarnation. How about it, boss? Are you doing it or not? The Devil's Incarnation was a little excited. His hand that was holding the Malatang was trembling. The Devil's Incarnation was a person who loved to look for excitement from the moment he was born. He was not willing to do anything that was not exciting. Li Fan thought about it as he picked his teeth. He saw a cash truck parked in front of the Tree Flag Bank. He immediately fell into deep thought. For security guards jumped down. 2 of them were carrying shotguns, while the other 2 were carrying metal boxes. They walked into the bank. There were also 2 security guards patrolling at the side. They seemed to be very careful. I heard that there's a ton of gold in this vault. The Devil's Incarnation lowered his voice again. There was a trace of greed in his eyes. A ton of gold. Wouldn't that be more than 200 million renminbi? Li Fan was a little surprised. So much money was not a small amount. Once 200 million renminbi was invested into his fiefin escort agency, the company would not have to worry about funding for the next 1 or 2 years. Since the other party was being so careful, it meant that there really was a vault under this bank. How do you want to rob them? Take a few guns and openly rob them? Sure. Boss, you're a martial arts master. Robbing a bank is just a matter of minutes. Martial arts masters? Do you think martial arts masters can do everything? Li Fan wiped his mouth clean and whispered, Jianghu has its own rules. If I do that, then I won't be able to stay in Jianghu anymore. The embroidered uniform guards, the government, and all the other Jianghu forces will not tolerate me. From now on, I can only go to one place, and that is the Devil's Sect. Isn't the Devil cult also pretty good? The Devil Incarnate laughed. Once you enter, you will be free and unfettered. Why should you be restrained? There are some restrictions that you can ignore, but there are some restrictions that you give yourself, and you should abide by them. Li Fan said, but Mr. Yang, who was sitting beside him, sneered. In your heart, do you really want to live like this? Li Fan was silent for a moment. This Mr. Yang's question was a bit sharp. Sometimes Li Fan did not know what he was thinking. Was he a good person or a bad person? What is good and bad? Look at the man sitting beside you. He is a smuggler. Who knows how many people's lives are on his back? But now he's sitting next to you, calling you brother. Mr. Yang's words were like a sharp knife stabbing into Li Fan's heart. This damn Mr. Yang. Can he not be so annoying? Boss, let's do this. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. The devil incarnate continued to persuade Li Fan. Li Fan was also a bit hesitant. At this moment, Li Fan received a message from Ling Tian. Because of Murong's Weibo, many forces in the underworld did not do business with the escort agency. Now, the escort agency was in an awkward situation. Not only in City A, but even Dong Yi had not had any business for a long time. If this went on, the agency would definitely be finished. Let's go back. Li Fan paid the bill and stood up to leave. Boss, we're not doing this job anymore. The devil incarnate stood up, looking a bit disappointed. Idiot, let's go back and think about it. All right. The devil incarnate immediately cheered up. This was the boss that he would follow wholeheartedly. When Li Fan returned to Phenomenal Escort Agency, Ling Tian was sitting on the office chair, extremely busy. Oh? Ling Tian raised his eyebrows and looked at Li Fan. Really? You're really playing big this time. I have no choice but to do this. Li Fan shrugged. No one wanted to do this. It's too risky, and it's illegal. Ling Tian purposely said, if anything goes wrong, we'll all go to jail. So, you don't want to do it, right? As soon as Li Fan finished speaking, the devil incarnate was not going to do it. Don't. If we don't do it, what are we going to eat? We're all going to starve tomorrow. Ling Tian, aren't you full of ideas? Why are you scared now? Speaking of which, Tree Flag Bank does have some gray income. If we can squeeze some money out of them, it's not a big deal. Ling Tian pondered for a moment. Considering that our current economic situation is indeed a little problematic, I feel that this idea is feasible. Damn, I knew you had foresight. The devil incarnate immediately became happy. This is our good strategist. However, Tree Flag Bank is the bank of some corrupt officials. It's well protected. Ling Tian muttered, we have to think of a foolproof plan. Then I'll leave the plan to you. Li Fan had absolute trust in Ling Tian. Actually, we can let Lin Yushin give it a try. Ling Tian suggested. She's quite smart. In this aspect, she's much better than me. No, don't let her participate in this kind of thing. Li Fan flatly refused. You can't even let her know, understand? Okay. Ling Tian understood Li Fan's meaning. You're the boss. You have the final say. Thank you for understanding. There were some things that he absolutely could not let Lin Yuhsan interfere in. In Li Fan's heart, he still subconsciously wanted to protect the innocence in Lin Yusan's heart. This kind of dark matter, just leave it to him. Then I'll help you plan it tonight. Ling Tian agreed immediately, and the devil incarnate stood at the side, already eager to give it a try. Li Fan, on the other hand, was a little depressed in his heart. Was his choice right or wrong? But no matter if it was right or wrong, if he didn't do this, his company would collapse. Chapter 779. Yang Ping was an ordinary bank employee who worked at Tree Flag Bank. This Tree Flag Bank was different from ordinary banks. It was a foreign bank. Although Yang Ping was just an ordinary employee, his monthly bonus was not small. He had heard that behind this bank were some anti-Chinese enterprises, but this had nothing to do with him. This was because his current salary gave him a lot of face in front of his friends. Whether it was a meeting with relatives or a class reunion, everyone had to look up to him, Yang Ping, and be envious of his current job. Yang Ping's monthly salary was 10,000 renminbi, and with some bank bonuses, he could earn 20,000 to 30,000 renminbi every month. Yang Ping was very satisfied, even if the money in the bank was black money. This money was used for financial management and investment projects, and the money earned was used for some anti-Chinese enterprises. As usual, Yang Ping held his briefcase under his arm and drove his Kia K5 sedan to the bank for work. Yamamoto Jiro was their boss. He was a meticulous middle-aged man in a suit with his hair combed back. He had a small mustache and looked like Hitler. His favorite thing to do was to pick on the Chinese employees. He was completely different from the other friendly Japanese colleagues in the bank. Although he was cursing Yamamoto Juro in his heart, Yang Ping was still full of smiles when he saw him. He nodded and bowed to Yamamoto Juro. "What are you still smiling for? Hurry up and get to work." Yamamoto Juro scolded Yang Ping. "You Chinese just like to be lazy. The work here is very important, and every cent of the customer's money is very precious. The customers paid for it, not for you to be lazy." Yes, Manager Yamamoto. I will definitely work hard and not let the leaders and customers down. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and get back to work." Yes. Yang Ping adjusted his tie and sat down at his workstation. Every day at 10 a.m., the bank's cash transport truck would arrive on time to collect the bank's gold bars and banknotes and send them out for capital operations. This Tree Flag Bank was the city's main branch. 10 meters below them, there was a vault. The vault was made of steel, and the steel plate was 30 centimeters thick. Even explosives would not be able to break it open. There were a total of 3 locks on the door of the vault. The first lock was a combination lock, which was controlled by the vault security guard and changed every day. The second lock was a fingerprint lock that required Manager Yamamoto's fingerprint to open. The third lock was a voice-activated lock. Every day, when they opened the vault, they had to call the Huaxia region CEO and ask him to open it. If any of the 3 locks were missing, the door to the treasury would not be able to open. The vault of Tree Flag Bank was the safest. Every customer there was either rich or respectable. If you didn't have a 7-digit deposit, you wouldn't even be able to enter this bank. Yang Ping sat on the sofa and warmly received a customer. This customer was a relative of an official and wanted to transfer the accounts to Tree Flag Bank. Both of them were big clients. Yang Ping looked at them with a face full of smiles. He wished he could lie down and lick every single stain off their shoes. If you open an account with Flagtree Bank now, you can also enjoy a free diamond card issued by Flagtree Bank. With this diamond card, you can enjoy VIP treatment at all airports and have a certain overdraft limit. There will also be a professional financial consultant to serve you. What is a diamond card? This lady obviously had some foundation. Do you have a Centurion card? I don't have the qualifications to apply for a Centurion card. That's great. It doesn't matter if you have a diamond card. I just heard that your bank's vault is the safest in the world. That's why I came to look for you. Don't worry. Even if a tank came, it wouldn't be able to blast through our vault door. Yang Ping immediately patted his chest and said, "You can just deposit your money in our bank." Is there anything else? The lady was about to continue asking questions when the bank door was pushed open. 2 cash transport guards holding shotguns walked in. They wore black sunglasses and stood on both sides after coming in. Yang Ping felt a little strange. The guard next to him also walked over and asked directly, "It's not time to withdraw money yet." "No. Which security guard are you?" Before he could finish speaking, a security guard had already swung his shotgun and knocked the guard out with the butt of the gun. The guard lay on the ground, his body twitching. The other guard of the bank directly pulled out his gun from his waist. The security guard who escorted the money was even faster. He picked up his shotgun and fired. Bang! The bullet shattered the chandelier above them. The chandelier fell down and smashed on the marble floor, causing the surrounding people to cry out in shock. The bank guards were so scared that they didn't dare to move. There were so many people here that they could all become hostages. 2 security guards stood there with shotguns in their hands, intimidating everyone. Then, 2 masked men walked in. One was wearing a dragon head mask, the other was wearing a pig face mask. The man wearing the dragon head mask was Li Fan. He was holding a Desert Eagle in one hand and a heavy machine gun in the other. Ling Tian had spent a lot of money to get them. This was Huang Lei. This was his first time robbing a bank, so he was a little nervous. Never in his dreams did he think that a little hooligan like him would actually do such a big thing one day. Of the 2 people disguised as security guards, one was Sun Qingshan and the other was the devil incarnate. Because most of the company's people had been sent to leave Family Island, there weren't many veterans left here. Yang Ping was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He squatted at the side and didn't dare to make a sound. Yamamoto Jiro gathered his courage, squatted there, and scolded. What are you guys trying to do? Can't you tell? This is a robbery. Li Fan's Desert Eagle was aimed at Yamamoto Jiro. Do I still need to remind you? You guys are simply deranged. Yamamoto Jiro hated these Chinese people to death. They even dared to rob the main branch of Tree Flag Bank. And his ferocity was scared away by the heavy machine gun in Huang Lei's hand. This heavy machine gun was pressed against his temple and could explode his head at any time. The bank's alarm system should have been activated. Ling Tian informed them through his earpiece. You guys have about 10 minutes. This is a place to deposit black money. The police will come faster than expected. Understood. Li Fan nodded. They had more or less investigated the bank's information. Who is the person in charge of the bank? Li Fan asked while playing with the Desert Eagle. He is. Yamamoto Jiro pointed at Yang Ping and shouted. Yang Ping was so scared that he peed his pants. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.